obviously whites when everything is okay. Uh, and I was staring at that all goddamn day, and literally like 7:58, it started working.
Nice.
It's
Yeah,
meant to be.
it was meant to be. So yeah, thanks guys for chilling with me. Much appreciated. So let's give a moment. I think we're missing one other person. And then we'll get started.
You missed it, Jeremiah. I took your
who-
side, by the way, in the prior discussion. You missed it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I wish. Yeah. I heard a little bit of that. And I know you're coming in from backup. I had to run away to get ready for stuff, but like you came in with backup. Holy crap, Blacktoid. Oh. And the lawyer lady, she was sure you were gonna be on her side.
Most people were, yeah. No.
Yeah. You are a dynamic person, Lactoid, full of surprises. I'm really happy to have you around, friend, as always. Who are we waiting for?
Nobody.
FK, maybe making it. Then we're looking for Mr. Griffin. Okay, let's see.
Oh, I'm here.
Is he?
Oh,
just
FK.
about to talk trash.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dang, I was about to call you flaky.
I
I was that close. Tip of my tongue.
No, I made the drive back. It's all good.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. So, okay, so we're missing Synth and Mr. Griffin.
No, we're not.
Synth, are you here?
I'm right here. Yeah.
You're not on my screen though.
Oh, am I not on your screen?
Dang,
Yeah, you
is that everybody?
I'm in the StreamYard in the waiting room, and I'm in the private VC. I don't know why I'm not on your screen.
You're definitely not. What waiting room? for
In
StreamYard?
the stream. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
There we go. How about now? Does it work now?
Yeah. There you
Good
go.
stuff. There we go.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, there you go. Great. So we're just missing Mr. Griffin, and again, for any audience that I happen to have right now, which I'm sure is very little, I do apologize for the tardiness, but my internet was down and couldn't do anything about that. All right, so let me send a quick message to Griffin, and then.
Oh, wait a minute. I am calling him Griffin Flaky then. Never mind. I thought that's who it was. I was like, yeah. But so random hot take, because I know we're about to get started. I believe this is like a 2-second nerd moment. I apologize to y'all. I believe for like live action animated projects, and I'm not even talking about One Piece. I'm talking about I saw the picture of the Avatar thing. Like, I think that live action projects for like animated mediums should take more liberties to not try to go 1-to-1 with their like source material, because I feel like it comes off looking like cosplay versus like a world that could be lived in.
Yeah, I was specific. Are you referring to like Disney live action remakes? Or...
No, come on.
I just seen a Twitter image of they're doing that Avatar: The Last Airbender Netflix series, and then I've also seen the trailer for the One Piece series that came out recently, and then you go to like Death Note and like it doesn't have to be like I guess Disney could kind of falls in this. I think Little Mermaid suffered a little bit from the same issue, but yeah, I think that I don't think that like they take enough liberties to like making themselves feel like, okay, what would an actual human wear?
I think a good way to think about it is live action should recognize that it's live, and they should probably try to make it more like a play or like an actual like it's like the idea of it's just a different medium, right? That's all you're saying.
Yeah,
you just got to recognize that medium doesn't translate with
Mhm.
drawings.
And you're gonna have like a 2% of your audience that's gonna really be pissed off by that. Like, oh, this is different from. But I think that overall it ends up making for a better experience. Like, I think Game of Thrones did that well, even though I guess it wasn't
excited. I think that's why I'm excited for the live action One Piece,
agree with you.
because like One Piece has a history of they do plays over in Japan of like One Piece, and they have their own like stories for those plays. And it looks like what they did with this series is they went much more into like, we're gonna focus on like set design, like the way a play would, right? We're gonna focus on like the costumes, the way a play would. They're just like they're trying to make it 1-to-1, but they're trying to like for Sanji's things, I think they avoided doing his eyebrows because that would probably look weird as like a normal human having like weird eyebrows.
I really want to discuss this. And I'm going to start with Bam, but FK, since it's interesting, I didn't know that you were a big fan. Where are you caught up with the series? Just quick question.
Yeah, I'm caught up fully. Like,
Oh,
I'm
then
vibing
we
with
got to
it.
talk. We got to make
Mhm.
a group thing and talk about this,
Mhm.
right? We don't invite Lactoid. He's not part of the cool kids. But yeah, we talk about One Piece all the time, so we love to maybe include you as well. And I have thoughts on the One Piece trailer, but my audience, what little I have right now, doesn't care about any of that shit. And counterpoints. What the fuck? What the fuck?
It's a
Counterpoints.
good question.
Like.
What?
Fresh face.
You know
Looks like a Snapcam filter.
you
Is
know
that
what you
real?
did.
Listen, I saw Hunter Avalone post a thirst trap to Twitter, and I was like, "Who's that handsome twink?" And I was like, "I want to get in on the action." So I shaved.
You know, I never really thought about it, but now with a shaved face, I wonder what it's like to kiss you.
You know what? My chat and my wife are wondering the same thing. So I mean, yeah, they're like,
Why is she wondering that? I would hope she would know.
because she's used to making out with like a Yeti carpet.
She
beard.
doesn't recognize him, so she doesn't not trying to approach
okay.
him.
It's very baby face, very smooth, very
Yeah, until the
very
snuggle
nice.
Look like
goes
Russell
in, and
Crowe.
then it's like little
A little
knives.
bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been saying that in my
Russell Crowe from
Warhammer
20 years
40,000
ago, hopefully.
Yeah, like Gladiator
Russell
Russell Crowe, yeah.
All right, so let's get started. Thanks all for coming through tonight. It's hell of a day, but we're here, and we're gonna get started. So we're gonna introduce all these great people. Before that, guys, hit the follow button. If you're new here, for whatever reason, hit that follow button. I'm love to have you along in the future, or subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, and consider like super chats because those get read out. So yeah, thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna give an introduction to everybody, and then we'll get started. My friend Lactoid is with me. Lactoid, who backed me up in my last panel I was just on, which wasn't good. Oh man, we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about that sometime. But it's good standing on the same side with like a common enemy, like like an anime where because I'm gonna note this up, where they're like they're the rivals, they're always fighting each other, but eventually they find a common enemy, they're standing back to back. That's really fun. That was me and Lacto just a second ago. But
Absolutely, solidarity, brother. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you having me on. You can find me at Lactoid TV, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Okay, let's go to our friend Bam. Oh, thank you, Wick, for I'm assuming that's where that all came from. Oh no, I didn't get rated yet. Thank you, Dionysus, for resubbing. Nice to thank you for your Prime Gaming here, dude. Really kind of you. So yeah, people aren't here yet. But anyway, let's go to my man Bam. Thanks so much.
Hey, crap. I am doing great. Had a great day. So my birthday's coming up this week. So
Hey.
just trying to make it towards the end.
All right.
Keep on living.
The end of
Yeah,
life.
I was gonna say.
That
Happy
too,
early
every day.
birthday.
Thanks.
Yeah. What day is it going to be? If you're okay with revealing that.
Oh God, they'll know me if they know my birthday. No, it's Friday.
It's Friday. Okay. All right. So we
23rd,
won't be...
Jordan year.
Okay. All right. Well, happy birthday. In case we don't get to celebrate it later on, Bam is a fantastic member of this community, a really
Best,
loyal
they
member
will
of this
say.
community. And like I'm very grateful to have him, and I hope we can, hang out for many years to come, friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on, we have our friend Corey. Corey is one of the kindest individuals here, and I'm sure he's going to prove that. He's not going to be vindictive. I'll be vindictive against my political enemies. He's the good copier.
Well, yeah. I don't know what to say other than I'm always grateful to be here. Always looking forward to be invited with these familiar and fine faces, and now with this fresh face in Counterpoints. So looking forward to getting into that. And yeah, you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv, Corey Campbell 84. Twitter, Instagram, literally it's Corey Campbell. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. And if you're also on YouTube, like the stream, just hit that like button. kind of helpful. You do that. Hit the like button. Anyway, let's go to our friend Nina, who we haven't had here in a bit. She's been doing big things. I see you on Moderator Debates. I see you out there. I hope you're doing well in those fights. But yeah, we're glad that she stepped down to a smaller platform, right? Take a day off from her world tours. So thanks for being here, friend.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. No, I always love coming on the show. I love to speak to all of our good friends. As much as Lactoid and I don't agree on like anything, it's always fun to see him, of course. And of course, it's good to see you, Corey. And Bambi, you again, and also you, Synth. And I don't recognize this counterpoints person, so. But no, it's a fantastic to always see you guys. I'm really excited this weekend because I'm a little spoiler. I think I'm going to be debating just Pearly things this weekend. So we have a lot of fun things happening. Not confirmed yet, but I think that's going to be in the works. But yeah, I of course love to be on the show anytime.
I debated her. She like
I remember that on the
Yeah.
trans.
Oh, I have to
You
watch
were the
that.
first. You
Yeah,
pretty much
did you
brought
make
her to
her?
fame.
Yeah,
Did you make her?
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I have to watch that then.
But yeah, she popped on. It was very quickly. I was reacting to her content, and then we had like moved on. But then someone came in. She came into my Twitch chat and said that like someone had notified her that I was like shitting all over her. And then she jumped on. And we had like a debate, like impromptu there. That was really fun.
Yeah, I have to watch that then. This will be a lot of fun. Any tips?
Any tips? I think she's actually. I think she's pretty easy. I know. Yeah. So,
Right.
I would. Yeah, I think you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just don't let her run away. And I think you'll be okay. Right? Don't let her try to escape. But okay.
I'm pretty good at not letting people do that.
I know that you're a freaking pit bull. Let's go to. I would say my friend, who I appreciate a lot, Counterpoints, but I don't know this guy, right? Like, the Counterpoints that I know is a rough and gruff, right? Like a bear of a man, a lumberjack of a man who appears in my channel. This motherfucker, I don't know, killed him and is now making love to his wife.
I am the baby face meme where it's like the caveman looking motherfucker walking around with a beard, and then he shaves and he's like a doe-eyed anime style baby. That's pretty much what's going on. But there's no real reason behind it. I just got bored on vacation and decided to shave, so it's all good. But
thanks for the. Oh, are you still talking?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so twink vibes aside, my name is Connor. I do run a YouTube channel named Counterpoints, Counterpoints 40K. So if you're into science fiction violence, go ahead and check out my main channel. If you're into political essays, I do have a third channel that does that. And then if you're into debates like this, then go ahead and check that out as well. I will be bringing the authoritarian centrist vibes, where I'm going to be, basically repping ecological fascism in the first topic, and then based Muslim conservatism in the second topic. So it's going to be a fun night tonight. I'm looking excited.
Okay, thank you so much, friend. I was going to say, Wick, thank you for the kind raid. Much appreciated, friend. I hope you have a great night. I was just on his channel. Everyone go check out Wick. A really great guy coming up in the world. We love to see it. Definitely a good friend of the panel. We had a really spirited discussion there in case you missed it. But most of you guys are coming from Wick's channel anyway, so you didn't. But hit that follow button in case you haven't done so yet. We'd love to have you. Because we have a lot of great conversations here as well, in case you're unfamiliar. Also, we have a YouTube channel. So head over to our YouTube. And if you want to get your comments read, consider going over to YouTube, give us a super chat, and I'll read it out to all these individual people. Like you can, and any super chat, no matter how low, right, that is criticizing Counterpoints for this disastrous idea of his, will be read out immediately. But thank you so much, everyone. Let's go to FK. FK, who barely made it to us, right? He was like speeding on Texas highways to make sure to get on this panel. We appreciate him putting his life and limb at risk because it was absolutely worth it. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I was flying at one point. Hey guys, I'm just average FK. I'm just a dude. I live a pretty normal life, you know. I like to have fun. I like to do things. I started playing War Thunder. We have a politics.gg Rust server now. So that's open to anybody who wants to join in, have fun playing Rust. You know, I'm excited for these topics. I'm really excited for the second topic. It gets to, you know, me as a non-citizen American immigrant, a DACA baby, gets to bring out my American imperialism, gets to be happy, gets to be proud. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, thanks so much. I put the link in chat to get to our YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, you can also hit us up on YouTube, subscribe to us there, watch the stream there, and use your super chats. Super chats would be great. Thank you. All right, moving on to our friend Synth. Synth, thank you for stopping by as well. Synth has been coming on recently and they've been a great addition. So thank you for stopping by again.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So I'm Dakota. I go by Synth Online. I've got a YouTube channel at youtube.com/SINTHE, where you can check me out. I mostly cover applied ethics, philosophy, some economics, that kind of stuff, that kind of topic.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. God, I have followers only chat for 10 minutes. Sorry, I took that off, guys. If you were trying to follow or talking in chat, followers only chat is now 0 minutes, so you can do that now. Okay, so first topic. Let's jump into it. In Hyde Park, a woman was. Oh fuck! Wrong one.
I was gonna. Am I not prepared?
Yeah. I know. I'm sorry. Because I had to do all this on my phone. I don't like I have a text pad basically where I usually write everything down. And I had to do everything on my phone so I could send it to you guys. So whatever. So let's okay. A lawsuit has been brought against Montana by a group of young people. They allege that the state must protect the environment for future generations and claim a provision in the Montana state constitution supports this. Do you think there is any merit to this case? If so, what kind of relief could reasonably be given? Do you agree with the underlying principle of the case? And what are the rights of current citizens versus future generations? So I thought this was really interesting. There was an article I found talking about this case. And basically there's like a provision in Montana Supreme Court saying that the state must guarantee like the environment for like future generations, something along those lines. And that's kind of where like the case hinges on. What is the state's responsibility to the younger generation currently, because those are the ones who are bringing the suit. So it's like I think it was the 8 to 22-year-olds, right? Like the age range of the plaintiffs. And what about the unborn, right? Does the state actually have any sort of responsibility to them? And like, if we let's say literally poison the environment, by dumping toxic sludge everywhere, should anyone be held legally responsible for the future damage, not just the current damage? Let's go to our friend Lacto to get us started.
Yeah, so climate change is a political issue, not a legal one. The Montana Attorney General here stated that, quote, "It is impossible for the court to grant relief to the plaintiffs that would remedy their alleged injuries," end quote. I fully agree with this statement. The specific area of the Constitution that's at issue states, quote, "The state and each person shall maintain and improve a clean and healthful environment in Montana for present and future generations." It doesn't specify what is meant by a clean and healthful environment, nor does it forward any legal penalties for failing to do so. If we're going to take the plaintiff's lawsuit on face value, they would equally have an argument to sue individual citizens of Montana if they happen to drink from plastic water bottles or drive SUVs, given that the specific part of the Constitution also states each person along with the state, right? It specifically states each person. So I think it's ridiculous to assume there's some kind of like legal basis there. I found and actually reviewed the complaint that they filed. It is publicly available. And after taking a look at it, I am also surprised that it wasn't dismissed. They don't specify as to what policies in Montana have had an effect on greenhouse gases and by how much. They claim Montana is responsible for glacial melt and the decline of huckleberries due to fluctuating temperatures. One of the plaintiffs, who's a young girl named Grace, contends that she can no longer play soccer due to the climate change caused by Montana, and the temperature fluctuations make it impossible for her to play soccer, and so that's one of her alleged injuries. Their request for relief is equally broad. It states that Montana should reduce their greenhouse gas production, but doesn't specify as to how much they should reduce their greenhouse gas production, and they don't justify any kind of line. At the end of the day, a court here has no business in setting these limits. This is just another example of a lawyer, who are normally terrible people, just inventing a baseless lawsuit. Also, I think it's weird that they are arguing that the unborn should be given some kind of legal considerations. I thought they didn't believe in that.
Thank you. Let's go to our friend Bam.
Yeah, I think that like, although the idea of looking forward to the future generations, like, I think this is probably a good thing. Like, I think that in this particular case, it sounds like something that we should strive for. Yeah, I don't think we can never have any obligation to do things in the interest of a future that's unpredictable, especially when you get into people who don't exist yet. So when you speak in this, I don't believe this case really has any strong merit from a legal perspective, or do I think it's even something to realistically consider? Like, there's a lot of things we could do today that would be like better for future generations. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's gonna be some diminishing return on it where it's no longer considered reasonable for present people. And I think that, like I said, it should go into consideration for actions we do in the city or our neighborhood, or for our world or country. But it, like I said, it can't be some, like, I don't think you can set any hard limits on this.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go to Corey, please.
Well, so whether it has legal merit, I obviously can't say because I'm not a legal scholar. I will probably concede that everything that Lactoid outlined is probably true, given the fact that they're way more legally informed than I am. But I do agree with the spirit of the case. To use sort of the example from a panel that was held here, I don't know, like last year, about the India flooding and the whole issue with potential climate reparations. I am all in favor of that, especially when it came with the India flooding, and I'm all for that. Now, in this case, when it comes to, let's say, the unborn or younger generations, where it's like, I do think we owe something. Whether that actually will hold out in law, I guess that remains to be seen. But I think, there's multiple examples of how, climate change is a global issue, and that if, nothing happens, everyone is going to pay the price. As in, I wonder if at some point, the U.S. That is, let's say, feeling the effects of the wildfires in Canada, are they going to request some sort of reparations for that? Because turns out smoke and smog doesn't respect borders, and the wildfires in Canada are trickling down to the U.S. And I'm curious how the U.S. or American citizens feel about that. But I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, Nina.
Okay, so I agree with what Corey said, where, like, obviously I will, I understand that Lactoid obviously knows more about the legal things, considering. What I think this is, oh my god, sorry, somebody just played an audio thing to jump scare me. Sorry. My chat. So what I think this is more than anything is it's like a protest. For example, like, I'm sure we're all, generally familiar with, like, the protests of, like, I don't know, like gluing yourself to, like, a famous painting or whatever. It's just trying to get the message out. I don't think this is really trying to do anything, like, actually. I mean, I would like, obviously, if it could actually move things in a positive direction where we would be more conscious about climate change. But I think this is just like a protest and a way to get the message across on, to show this is a real issue. I mean, the reason we're talking it right now is because of this, isn't it? Right. So, like, it really does seem to me that it's, for one, a relatively harmless way that doesn't disrupt anyone's, like, day-to-day life way to get their message out there, as much as if it if it does go somewhere, that's also a dub too. So I just think it's totally fine. It's pretty base that, like, the younger generation is getting more influence on it. I think it's a really good view to say, because I think a lot of, like, these old rich fucks don't give a fuck about, like, they're gonna die before anything's gonna happen. Oh, nothing's gonna happen. They don't care. So I think having the younger generation here, like being very vocal about this, is incredibly, for one, important for them, and also a great display of, because I would imagine that you would, even if you are an old fuck, who do you care about? Probably your kids, right? Maybe a way to communicate that in like the more the mainstream of being like, yeah, this is you can't just be like, ignore it. Your kids are gonna get fucked over by this. So I think it's an interesting thing. I think it's mostly a protest, and I'm interested to get into the conversation here.
Okay, speaking of old fucks, counterpoints, please go ahead.
Thanks. Although people,
But 10 years younger now.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
he's a young
people said I
fuck
look
now.
10 years younger, so I look 45 instead of 55, so that's good. But no, I am a centrist authoritarian is the way that I've been tagging myself recently, so I'm siding both with the eco-fascists and I'm siding with the Burkean conservatives. So Burkean conservatism holds that society is not just a contract amongst the living, it's a contract amongst the living, the dead, and those yet to be born. So people basically handed down society to you. It is your job to maintain it, improve it, and turn it over to the next generation. I think that what Nina said is correct, that this is not actually a legally serious matter where these kids are expecting to receive millions of dollars so they can build their global climate change bunkers from the state of Montana. What they're really saying is, hey, governments are the invested public interest, and you are failing to guard the public interest by not considering the future and not building the infrastructure necessary in order to maintain a healthy future. I think that's a perfectly rational, perfectly reasonable, perfectly base thing to say. Teddy Roosevelt was responsible for the national park system. He was a progressive Republican. Richard Nixon created the EPA. He was a Republican. Conservatives used to care about stewarding the planet, and now they only give a shit about ripping it up and getting a little bit of profit. And I'm reminded of that like meme where you have the asteroid like going through the Earth, and there's an astronaut on the moon like watching the planet explode, and he's like, "Oh no, the GDP." Like, we have to care about other shit besides just profit. I think that caring about the environment is based. And hold on, who else was I sympathetic to? Oh, the eco-fascists. Yeah, I want hunting grounds. I want territorial grounds. I want biodiverse environments. I think that we can have a thriving human population and a thriving wild environment at the same time. I don't think these things are mutually exclusive, and I'll leave it there.
Okay. So moving on to our friend FK, please.
Hey. Yeah, I fall in line with most of the people here when it comes to, I think this isn't like this is a case that's really open-ended. It's really broad, but the reality is it seems like it's meant to be that way to bring up that big argument that's coming here. I think as a state or as a nation, all that the government can really do is get together and help like affect our environment to give us a better to help give us better outcomes. I think part of that is like maintaining a natural aspect to our environment. There's a beauty to that. It helps us it helps give us some sense of direction. It helps give us some sense of like history with our nation. I think that's why it's important for us to care about like preserving some of our parks. In Texas right now, we're going through some issues where some of our parks are starting to shut down in favor of like large housing developments, which like is nice, but like the reality is this is like in areas that are not really producing much business, and it's just people who kind of own that land that used to be park, that used to like bring in a lot of people walking, wanting to sell it off to build houses. That really sucks as like a person who's residing in Texas, used to go visit those areas. Another thing I've seen online, which really sucks, is that sometimes when we go through the process of trying to clear out some of these like hog areas or clear out like pest animals, we'll do it in ways that seem kind of problematic. I think it's much more favorable that we work alongside like people who care about our environment, hunters, people who want to preserve those types of areas, rather than do some things that I've seen, which is like drop gas bombs that end up hurting like kids within these areas. I'll leave it off there. We can go from there.
Okay. Let's go for Synth finally. Thank you.
Sure. So not only should rights be granted to future generations, they should be our primary concern. So just for the sake of charity, let's imagine some really bleak predictions. Let's imagine no matter what we do, humans only live another 800,000 years, life expectancy caps at 88 on average, and the global population never exceeds 11 billion. That would still mean 100 trillion future lives. 100 trillionth, with the TH on the end, would be the amount you would have to increase the chance of extinction by for that to be equal to killing one human in the future. Obviously, if you were to plant a nuclear bomb in a forest that was going to go off 200 years from now, it would be morally wrong. And there's no good reason to think that by pushing off deaths that it becomes more morally acceptable. So it doesn't make much sense at all to think that the impact that you have on the chance of future generations having a positive life is the kind of thing that's not worth considering. Clearly, it's not just worth considering, but greatly outweighs the considerations that we have for the here and now. There are 7 billion people alive. 100 trillion compared to 7 billion. Clearly, one of these is a much larger number. Even if you consider them weighed less, it would still be the case. That would be a much, much larger consideration. Some things that came up ended up being things like is it weird to give legal consideration to the unborn? Clearly not. Somebody might say like there's an abortion tie-in. But I think here on the left, we don't think it's the case that you should smoke meth while you're pregnant. So clearly, doing bad things to your future child is something we think is wrong. We just don't think you should be forced to create future people. Forced to. Obviously, it's good to do so. And torturing future people is something that everyone cares about, I would hope. Some people think maybe it's like we have no obligations towards the future that's unpredictable. But we wouldn't say that because obviously it'd be wrong to go around with a loaded revolver with one cartridge loaded and start pointing it and pulling the trigger at people. That would be an issue. Some people might say that, like, are we going to request reparations for the wildfires in Canada? Well, it's strange to request reparations for Canada. It would only be reasonable to do so if it was the case we were to blame for the fires. Then it would make some amount of sense to do so. Obviously, it makes little sense to say that we should hold Canada responsible for something which is probably, if due to anyone, more so due to us than them, and due to a plurality of nations, not specifically one in particular. And there are other people who hold who on the panel seem to hold like a more reasonable view, which is that it's your duty to maintain the world for future generations. Any kind of reasonable ethical analysis is going to bring us to that conclusion. And in this particular, it's probably not the case that they're going to win their legal case. But like other people said, it is a protest. It's meant to get a message across. And the message is going, I think the message is going to get across is going to be clear, which is the existing legal structure privileges the old and the rich, and the most voiceless group are the people who don't exist yet.
Okay. And I thought that was really interesting hypothetical with the nuke and the forest. I thought that was really fun. I hope we can grapple with that. But open to the panel, please.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with almost everyone here. I don't think that you can I don't think you could prioritize people that don't exist yet.
I don't think anyone's saying prioritize. Maybe
well, that was sense word exactly.
No, I say that.
That was sense word exactly was prioritized.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and finish off.
Because I think that I don't think that we humans have any obligation. Like, sure, we enjoy existing, but I don't think we have like an obligation to continue to exist, especially not at the expense of people living today. Like, if this was our priority, no one would be allowed to have cars today because it's probably going to have some like realistic long-term effects.
I think it has a benefit to the future people. Right, to have cars has a benefit. The benefit ends up being the fact that we have a more stable economy. We're able to
have the environment though.
I think that what we might lose in terms of the direct impact on the environment through things like carbon emissions, I think is the case that we gain more in terms of things like the economic impacts that we have, which could then be turned into positive benefits on the environment and positive benefits on future generations, the development.
Sure, but it's causing more car crashes that are killing people that would have created.
We have to weigh and balance. Yeah, exactly. We have to weigh and balance things. So it causes more car crashes. It also saves lives through things like ambulances and such. It also saves lives through things like the fact that more people are able to get. Well, no, even the fact that like more people are going to have more medicine because we have more economic activity. That's one thing that also saves a lot of people. If you think it's the case that cars kill more people than they save, you should be anti-cars just in the here and now. It doesn't have anything to do with future people.
There are people who do that, by the way. They argue that it's possible to use less cars like in our day-to-day lives. I think it's unrealistic to come into this going with the idea that like we're just gonna get rid of cars. We have to be like, I think we just have to accept that we should start looking at each other and being like, hey, also before we get into the abortion thing, I think that doesn't matter because like the reality is we're talking about people who will be born. We're not talking about like is a life at the point of conception. We're just talking about there is going to be somebody who's going to be born eventually. Does that person have some like right to having an environment that's conducive for their development, right? And I think we have to accept as humans that like what we do affects other people around us. We probably should try to take care of the people around us and the things around us so that it doesn't hurt those people or hurts them as little as possible with what we have around us.
No, but I think the thing is, I think we can do good without these weird considerations for people who don't exist yet, or I think. Wait, just let me say this
go
is
ahead.
my entire point. I believe that like the ways that things generally work is like, oh, okay, when politicians advocate for people, they advocate like whenever they're talking to people, whenever they're passing bills, I think they're passing it for people that currently exist. So you're gonna have like people in their 80s are potentially gonna die, but you're also gonna have people that are 18 that like, or 18 to 30 in that range. They're like, oh, okay, I plan on being around another 20, 30, 40 years, 50 plus years. And then we're creating policy that we can create policy that's like, okay, in your lifetime, like we're sort of trying to make sure that the good things are going to exist for at least the next 50 years, and then you update that and push that 50 more years down the line every decade or so because new people are born.
Can I ask you one thing?
I want to rebut this.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you'll allow me. Basically there's an old Greek quote. It's like a society grows great when a man plants a tree whose shade he knows he will not live to enjoy. And this is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about people considering out into the future. In 50 years, like, you have to understand the technologies that we're wielding. We're wielding like nuclear technology, which is capable of like, eliminating the biodiversity of entire areas of the planet. We're talking about CO2 that might be like a cumulative thing where it's like, it's like smoking, where you don't have to worry about having cigarettes here and now because you're going to get cancer 20 years from now. And people right now say, fuck it, I'm just going to enjoy myself and have some tobacco. This is almost like a perfect analogy for the way that we're approaching the environment. So I don't care if you nest it in you shouldn't smoke because it makes you cough up a little bit like a pussy in front of everybody else and that's not cool, or if you say it's going to give you lung cancer in 20 years. But the point is, at the end of the day, you should probably quit fucking smoking.
But I'm saying that you can I think we can reasonably advocate for people in like everything from now to 50, 60 years from now. I don't think that anyone should come on stage and talk about in 200 years these people are gonna you don't even know what they want.
But it's not about
Can
can
you explain that? Like, why do you think that we should just like have like a cutoff of like when we stop caring about like what's going to happen?
About humans 10,000 years from now. I want human beings to survive another like million years. I want them to be
but you don't know what technologies are going to exist or what they're going to advocate for. Like if 50 years ago, they said if they it actually matters how you push policy. If you passed a bill 50 years ago that says that like we're for the next 2,000 years we won't allow a factory job to leave the United States, and like I'm just some dumb policy like that. I know you're saying that like obviously in the future you would change it, but I'm saying if you like decide that you're going to advocate in that way and you're going to push something in that way, now we realize that like okay, factory jobs aren't even necessary. That's not even the technology of the future that we.
I don't think.
So is your argument though?
Current policy.
Can I ask, is your argument basically that we just don't have the capability of understanding where we're going to be at, and like what did you say, like 100 years or whatever?
That's part of it, but the other part is that they're just not important
to like legislate for something that's so far into the future. That's
But
literally
this
just
seems
So we could
Right,
literally
is that
have
what you're saying?
a machine that comes out next week that like pulls 100% of the carbon out of the.
Doesn't this seem like the
this.
this seem like the kind of thing where it's like it's a little bit weird to place your eggs all in this basket of like we might have a machine in the future that pulls the carbon out of the atmosphere. It's like it'd be like saying it's okay to smoke meth while you're pregnant because your baby might be Hitler. It just seems like a bizarro world hypothetical.
I think we're talking
Well, the baby
about,
is like a currently existing thing.
I think
Well,
we're
if
talking about
it's
like
a
If
zygote,
you
it's
smoke meth, if you're gonna get pregnant in the future.
Maybe we
It's
talked
okay
about
to
a
smoke meth
conversation
if you know
about like
you've got a zygote.
Not if you're currently pregnant. Like it's like you shouldn't smoke meth because you might one day want to get pregnant. Like that feels.
I think that's true. I think if you know that you want to get pregnant, you shouldn't smoke
Not
meth.
if you know you want to. Just say it's a possibility that you could.
Well, it's a possibility the baby could. There's a possibility the baby could do something good with his life or do something bad with his life. Obviously, we can weigh and balance these.
We're talking about a hypothetical baby.
But saying
It's also possible that all of the dangers of meth, like the brand new machine that you're talking about, could be invented tomorrow, as in the
cure's
pregnant person.
yeah.
So the cure could be like you don't. To Connor's point, this is just a psychological concept of temporal discounting. Like you yourself, I'm pretty sure you don't operate this way. I'm reasonably sure you're not making unhealthy choices, or rather, universally unhealthy choices. You are not smoking. You are not doing heroin. Maybe you are doing heroin. I don't know.
Based on my lifetime, though.
Yeah, but you take your own future into account, as in future BAM doesn't exist yet. All I think most people on the panel are saying, No. You saying future BAM exists now?
Yes, future BAM. I can advocate
No.
for future BAM because
But-
I am.
Yes, but future BAM technically doesn't exist yet.
You're current
Yeah,
BAM. You're
but
not
you-
future BAM.
But I'm saying, but do you understand why I said that we can advocate for policies for like 50 years in the future that account for people?
Okay, so you
not
want
just
two.
talking about
Okay,
those
so,
people's
so
future.
so just to clarify, you want 2 generations, generally speaking, as in 2 or 3 generations, not like 5 or 6 generations.
No,
Is
I'm
that-
just saying people that exist.
Well, you said 50 years. That's roughly 2 to 3 generations.
I'm just saying that like an 18-year-old can
But
reasonably
like
expect to
120
live
years,
to
you would be not
75.
okay with that. If we knew there was going to be a thing that was going to like that had like a 90% chance of killing everyone in 120 years, you think we should do nothing about it because it might do things bad for people in the here and now.
Yeah.
Really?
That's fu-
I
You
think
don't believe that
I
stuff.
do.
No,
No,
I
I'm saying.
think there's-
I'm saying
I
I think you can
was
advocate for
lagging.
good things that like help that like. But if it was something that would negatively impact the current people, like
Let's go to the
to an extreme
nuke in
degree.
the forest example. Let's say there are like let's say that like a person just enjoys the fact they're putting a nuke in the forest, right?
No,
Like,
that's not good
That's all we know.
There has to be a positive.
It's 120 years. That's a
No, let's
positive.
say-
They
let's say
enjoy
no,
it,
there
right?
has
That's
to be a
positive.
positive. No,
That's a
I'm-
positive. They enjoy it.
No, I disagree with that. I'm saying
What
that
qualifies
if you
as a positive?
okay, well, if look, I could qualify this, if planting a nuke in a forest somewhere made it where no one living for that 120 years would ever have cancer.
No. That's like it's extreme positive. Let's talk about minor positives, like we're talking about in this case. Like it's a minor downside to have like an externality tax surrounding
it
carbon.
increases the
Probably a
GDP
good
of some
in the here and now.
company by like 54%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Or
just
some
feel like you're not
country,
talking about
just
something that's actually a positive. That you're trying to miss my point in like into
No. The positive ends up
saying
being the person. Let's say, yeah, exactly. Let's go with this the exact specific example of it makes some companies some money, right? It
Well,
makes
if it
some
ma-
companies some
not
money to
just
put a
some
nuke in the
companies.
forest. To put a nuke in
Because
the
you don't care
forest, it's
about
going to go off in
people, you're
120
anti-companies.
years. Of course I'm anti-company. I'm asking you.
Just government makes a little bit more money.
So if
whatever.
it made everyone's life better, they're living.
No. It's
Everyone
making
that
a small
existed
group of
life
people's
better.
lives better. Just like
So
it is
again,
in the case
then
of
I
just like it is in
disagree
the
with
case
that.
of the
Just
just like it
move
is
on
in
from
the
this
case
example
of
then.
carbon
It would
emissions.
make everyone in that nation's life better. The
Exactly. Let's go
nation
with
that
exactly.
benefits
Let's
from
go
that
with
company's like production.
No,
let's
like
make it
that, like,
comparable to
meaningful
climate
better.
change, right? Let's make it comparable to climate change, right? Let's say it has the same positive impacts that carbon emissions do in the here and now, but in 120 years, a nuclear bomb goes off and has a 90% chance of killing everyone. Do you think that would be okay?
What are the positives you would
The
assume?
exact same positives we get from carbon
No, I'm
emissions in
saying
the here
give an
and now.
example. Give an example.
The exact same ones. That's the example. The exact same ones we get from
our
carbon
economy
emissions
doesn't
in the here and
saying
now.
develop as
a
fast
yeah.
as it does.
Our
You can
economy
have your
take
cars.
advantage of it. Yeah. We
I
get.
feel like you would say there's no examples to like
The example,
having doing
let's say there's like a
climate
5% decrease in GDP, right? That happens if we stop it.
I don't know. I'll just move on. This doesn't feel.
Just engage with that.
realistic.
Well, it's perfectly
you're
realistic.
trying
The
not to
only
engage it
difference
'cause
is
I've
now
gave
it's a nuclear bomb instead of climate
Because I've gave
change.
like
It's
3
exactly the
examples of
same.
things I would accept, and you said that like no, those are like too good. So I'm saying
You have
that,
to
like,
make sure. Yeah, I'm telling you, make it the exact same as climate change. Totally realistic. You want it to be unrealistic. I'm saying make it realistic. Make it the exact same as climate change.
but I'm
Like,
saying
what are the
You can say it
benefits right
I would
magically
now?
advocate
cures all the
there aren't
cancer, but
benefits right
that's not what carbon emissions do.
But I'm saying I would say there's not benefits to doing nothing about climate change right now.
There are going to be some
there-
benefits, like the
wait,
fact that
there's
there's a
not
GDP and there's a GDP increase.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, but there's a switch within our technologies that we use, right? Like that takes money that has to be invested. It's going to hurt companies right now because they're set up. They have incentives that are set up for the status quo, and so changing it and people will lose jobs, all kinds of things, like coal miners lose jobs, or whatever the fuck, right?
Right. We were talking about 12 people. It's not the very coal
Okay.
miners. I don't know.
What?
Just move on from me.
I gotta
Just-
let other people in
What?
anyway.
Yeah,
So
please.
we're
I've been saying
gonna
that.
go
Y'all
to
have been
Alactoid, Aiko, and then our friend Counterpoints. Oh, and FK.
So I got a couple questions, but it seems like we're not talking about the actual lawsuit. So I think we can all just agree that the lawsuit's fucking stupid. As to the question of climate change generally, there's a couple things I said that I heard that I want a little bit of clarification on. So Synth, you said before that for cars, for example, like banning cars right now wouldn't be reasonable because although cars do generate a significant amount of emissions, they burn fossil fuels and they cause a lot of fatalities. They use up a lot of room. It takes a lot of environmental damage to build highways. It causes cultural disruption, blah, 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 blah. There's all these negatives. There's also benefits that come with it. How are you weighing these benefits when it comes to other things that also have benefits, such as fossil fuels, coal, gasoline, right? Montana, for example, has 30% of the nation's coal. It's a significant industry in Montana, right? So a lot of people there.
You take a look at the total emissions, and then you compare those to the economic gains.
Okay, so if you look at like the economics of Montana, if it's shown that that Montanans like are much more positively affected by coal
No,
mining.
I don't only care about people from Montana. I care about all human beings.
Okay, what percentage of climate change is caused by Montana, and is there a way for us to know?
The fact that what we want to look at is not what percentage specifically is caused by Montana and is impacting Montana. We want to take a look at what is caused by this industry, and then we can weigh from there. Is it the case we want to get rid of this industry or promote it? And if we want to get rid of it, then getting rid of it in one small place, like particularly just Montana, would be a net good, because it doesn't just have harms to Montana people.
So if
all people.
Sure. So if we measure someone said before said it's Canada wasn't responsible. It's a plurality of nations. If we took a look at it, and it turns out that the overall effect of all the coal being burned from Montana is some 0.0000 some effect on climate change, but like it has what we both agree to be a significant boon on the local economy, then you would agree with me that we shouldn't disturb Montana's coal industry.
No, that still seems like a massive consideration. How does that follow that I wouldn't care about Montana's coal burning?
No. Okay, maybe you misheard me. What I'm saying is that if we measured the overall greenhouse gas output from the Montana's activities here with the mining of coal, if that overall contribution to climate change was an amount that we didn't think really outweighed all the benefits that came with having cheap fossil fuels like gasoline and coal, then you would agree we should not ban the coal in Montana.
If it was the case that the risks and benefits, weighed in favor of burning coal, I'd be in favor of burning coal, yes.
Right. The GDP increase could outweigh the dangers of burning coal.
Possibly. Like anything's possible, but it doesn't, right? Like all of the empirics don't support that.
Okay. I mean, do you have in your mind
empirics that burning coal is a net negative? Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So very easy to make the argument that it's a net negative. So just from the potential X-risk impacts of according to Toby Ord, it ends up being 1 in 100 of human extinction from climate change within the next or like something that will cause human extinction within the next 100 years, like for example feedback loops. That ends up being really, really, really bad. The even really, really small impacts on that end up being massive in terms of how bad they are. If we want to take a 1 in 100 and go with that like 100 trillion number, that means we have like a trillion expected deaths from climate change currently on expected value. That's really, really, really bad. There are 7 billion people in the world. A trillion expected deaths is greatly outweighing that. It's the kind of thing where even really, really small percentage changes would be enough to be equivalent to about 1 human life lost. And with 7 billion people, even if we wanted to split the responsibility among 7 billion people, you still have quite a lot of expected human deaths.
Do you have any kind of outweighed consideration for the GDP of America or Montana in specific?
I don't think.
Well, this is more of a question that you would have to answer, right?
I'm fine with answering it. I think it is. The burden is kind of on Lactoid, but no, like we do it.
Right.
We can take a look at the impacts that we have from things like an externality tax on carbon, for example. A carbon externality tax. There are some downsides, like for example, the fact that it will pull money away from the existing fossil fuel industry. But it probably ends up being a net positive because we could take those exact same externality taxes and put those back in to something like, for example, education. Obviously, having a more robust education system leads to more economic productivity. More robust infrastructure, once again, leads to more economic productivity. All of these things are ways we could take the money from this industry that's causing harm and take the money that they gain from that harm caused and put it towards things that are good, and obviously decrease the amount of negative impact they have there. And putting it towards like infrastructure or something, like large-scale public transit, that means that we have a lot less emissions produced just on moving people from place to place.
So what I specifically...
Speaking my language.
Hold on. I'm going to allow one more back and forth, but we have to move on since we have limited time for this particular topic since we started late. I'm sorry. So Lactoid, give another try. You can Cynthia can respond, but then we got to move on to Aiko and the rest of them.
Okay, so I'm just going to assume that in your moral system, it doesn't matter. Like the economic impact in the U.S. or Montana isn't necessarily consideration as compared to the global carbon emissions and the global GDP increase.
One's a much larger than the other one. Yeah.
Okay. My second question for you is when you're talking about how we have some kind of duty to future generations, if I could show you, let's say, that banning alcohol today would reduce the risk, just like banning it outright, would reduce the risk of people getting addicted to alcohol and thus reduce the risk of fetal alcohol syndrome going forward and overall liver cirrhosis and children growing up without parents, blah, 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 blah. Would you be in favor of banning alcohol for consenting adults today?
If you were to show me that anything has a benefit in terms of like on aggregate for future generations included, then absolutely I would. But I don't think it does.
Gotcha.
I think it ends up having a lot of negative externalities. We saw that kind of like with I think even though prohibition was actually effective, this is like contrary to popular belief, it was effective at bringing down the level of alcohol consumption.
Yes, it was.
It also had this huge externality of lots and lots and lots of organized crime. I think the bads from organized crime probably outweigh the goods from the goods that you get from decreasing alcohol consumption.
Okay, and final question. If I could show you otherwise that the rates of death from liver cirrhosis actually outweighed all the deaths of organized crime from that time period, then you would be in favor of banning alcohol.
No, you have
And
to show me
drunk
that
driving
it was
If I could
as well.
conditional
You have to show- yeah, you have to
conditional
show the-
hypothetical.
You're just talking
Right
about
now.
death, so we're not talking about.
Right, well, conditional hypothetical.
You're being
If I could show you that was the case, would that be sufficient?
If you could
for
show me there was a net positive in terms of banning alcohol, then I would be in favor of banning alcohol.
Okay, all right.
It's just,
What
I
would you
don't
do in
think
states like
Let's go
Texas where
to-
oil companies
sorry,
like invest
I
a lot?
got I'm gonna move on. But don't worry, you're in line, FK, I promise. So our friend Aiko is here. Very glad to have a great participant here. And I want to quickly say I see the YouTube numbers ticking up a little bit, right? Hey guys, if you're there, hit the like button at the very least, and also just so you know,
Because of
super chats.
Ico, of course.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so hit the like button, and remember super chats get read on stream, so that'll be great. But anyway, let's go to our friend Ike, and then we go to Counterpoints and FK.
Okay, there's two things I want to talk about. One of them is one of them is just response to what I just heard in the exchange between Electoid and Synth, because I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding here. You don't have to listen to liberal scientists about this. You can listen to the coal industry itself. If the coal industry is asked to account for its own externalities, it says that it can't. It says that the industry would collapse if it had to deal with its own externalities. Just asking it to give black lung benefits to its workers was itself considered to be like a bridge too far for these companies. They said if we had to do that, like we would have to shutter our minds. We wouldn't be able to afford paying for the benefits of the workers like who got black lung disease like here. And if you added to that the externalities of all of the toxins, we're not even talking about global warming here. We're just talking about the toxins that get released at coal plants, that people near the coal plants have increased cancer rates, increased diseases like pulmonary and cardio diseases as a result of all of that. If you accounted for those externalities, Seth talked about an externality tax, something that the coal industry would have to pay into just to pay for that stuff, even if you're not accounting for like any of the climate change that comes from global warming as a result of all of this. If you just dealt with the toxins themselves, the coal industry would not be sustainable. In fact, it's not sustainable even without all of that. You can watch coal consumption go down, down, down over the years because it's more expensive than, say, natural gas, which is also considerably less polluting and emits half the CO2, and especially wind and solar, which are getting way, way cheaper even than that. So if you just deal with the externalities themselves, the coal industry just couldn't survive. So I don't think that that's necessarily an answer. But on the topic itself, I just got out of a debate, an Australian-Asian debate. I'm doing those now. And the Australian-Asian debates right now are over, or at least the one that I was judging, was over whether or not you could hold pregnant women accountable legally for consuming things that might harm their babies. And things like fetal alcohol syndrome and stuff like that. And it seems to me that a lot of the people who don't want to take any future responsibilities for what happens in the energy industry are the same people who are very eager to say, if you drink or you smoke, you should be held criminally liable for anything that happens to your baby. And it was interesting because the affirmative team got up and even walked back a claim and said, we recognize that a fetus is not a person, but it will one day become a person. And because of that, we need to treat fetuses in a way that allows them to have future health and prosperity. And I think a lot of people can sort of understand the morality behind that statement. I think we also understand that, you know, you don't throw cigarette butts on the ground, even though it's good for you, because the person who has to walk up next to it and have to clean it up is in the future. And that person is like having to deal with something that you did in the past. Like even really tiny things like that, we can understand. But for some reason, when long timescales are involved, we lose our ability to sort of understand the consequences of that.
Thank you so much. Ike always adds like the best comments. So thank you, friend. And let's go to our friend Counterpoints and FK. And if anyone else wants to jump in, let me know.
Yeah, so it's actually not hard. I don't think that we're going to convince Americans to take sledgehammers to their cars. I don't think that we're going to convince them to stop driving gasoline vehicles. I don't think that we're going to start smashing highways. I don't think that we're going to build 15-minute cities. I don't think we're going to do any of that kind of crap. But I do think that the government is designed to take externalities into effect, and as a result, they should be the institution that guides the future development of humanity. So if we're building new cities, we should have intelligent urban design where not everywhere has to be taken by a car. We should have high density, mixed zoning, stuff like properties that are designed for human well-being. We should have a mix of condos, apartments, and houses. We should do fission, as much fission as we possibly can as far as power goes. And if fusion ever comes online, because I keep hearing that fusion is like one step away, if fusion ever comes online, then we'll integrate fusion. But if fusion is still 2 years away for the past 40 years, then we just need to go with fission and get started. When it comes to carbon capture, yes, we should have absolutely like designated forest areas and designated forestry in order to capture carbon and all that kind of stuff. But another thing that I've done the math on multiple times is they have reduced those like carbon capture air vent things down to the equivalent of 50 cents a gallon. So I've done the math on it. So like it's just like a giant air filter that captures carbon out of the air. It's like $300 for whatever ton captured or something like that. If you do the CO2 calculation, it's 50 cents. I'm perfectly okay with telling the American people, hey, listen, we're charging the oil companies 50 cents per gallon. That cost is getting passed on to you. If you want to keep driving cars for the next century, that's the cost of offsetting your carbon impact on the globe. And then basically, and the gasoline companies, they want to use this technology because they want to turn it back into gasoline products. I'm okay telling the gasoline companies, hey, go fuck yourself unless you're at like a net calculation. So government is the institution that's capable of dealing with these externalities. We have technologies that are available. We just don't have the wisdom to use them. And I feel like that's pissing me off because all it takes is somebody with balls to actually step up and say that this is what we're going to do.
FK, please.
Yeah.
And or a large uterus.
Yeah, I think it's about, first of all, when you said fission, I didn't realize you meant like vision energy. I thought you meant fission as
I thought you said
Yeah, me
fission.
too. I thought you said fishing too. Okay, I'm glad
I was like, that's
Catch
based
all
as
the
fuck,
salmon.
bro. I want to go fishing. Like,
Yeah, we can
the
use that. Sure.
no, that goes to a point. It's important to have shit like that. I think one of the most important thing, like, motherfucker, you have all these shit fucking skid mark weebs sitting on the end of their computers talking about how great Japan is, talking about how beautiful that nation is, seeing videos of somebody picking up dirt or like fucking trash in Japan being like, look at this country. Motherfucker, you could do that. You could be in America doing that same shit in your city. We should want to keep our environments clean. We should want our cities to be clean around us. We should demand that out of our politicians. We have to start recognizing like, our technology is advancing. We don't have the infrastructure necessary to like take advantage of all these advancements. We have to start investing in building this infrastructure from the ground up, not like later on having to put it in the middle of an like overpacked city where like you're like, fuck, we don't really have space to do what we need to do. But now we have to just start tearing shit down, eminent domain, fuck everything around that we already had. Like we have to start thinking ahead. Like we recognize our technology is developing faster and faster, and we have to know where we're gonna go to and what we need to like maximize that efficiency.
Okay.
Would you ever advocate for be in favor of like paying tax money towards a bridge that was going to be built in 500 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about 500 years because this thing still affects us today, right? We still want our cities built differently today. I recognize what your issue is. Like I don't think it's effective to go up to the average person and be like, these are things that'll affect you 500 years from now. But I do think it's effective to be like, yo, listen, like your city's being built. The reason your traffic is like so congested is because your city doesn't know how to build anything around it. They just keep putting things where like they can fit for right now. And that's affecting your life at the like current moment.
So,
For sure.
So I want to
That's how I answer.
I want to answer your question directly. If somebody was saying, "Hey, we're going to build a highway across the entire planet, and we're going to build like the Trans-Siberian Alaskan highway that goes into Russia, and we're expecting like a quintillion uptick in GDP, but this highway isn't going to be finished for the next 500 years," fuck yeah, I'd vote to do that shit because I think the future flourishing of humanity relies on us being planned. And then also, if you look, this isn't anything new. All of our greatest achievements, like all the churches and cathedrals of the medieval era, the pyramids of ancient Egypt, these were all projects that were undertaken with the knowledge that they would not be completed by the time that generation was dead.
For sure,
so
but if
we're talking about 100-year,
process
200-year, 500-year projects.
Yeah,
What's
but
that one meme that every once in a while it comes around? It's like that picture of like the United States and the big fucking railroad that goes across all of the U.S., like the interstate highway system.
That's just my dream. What do you mean?
That image is kind of a LARP, but there's probably an effective way we could actually build out a system like that. Is it really that bad for our government to be like, listen, it seems like we're oversaturating ourselves with cars. We do need a good railroad system, or like we at least need to have the system in place to like actually build out railroads. So we're gonna just start on this project. We're not gonna get everything done within your lifetime, but within your lifetime, you're gonna start seeing things like that, right? Right now in Texas, within our lifetime, we're seeing like a interstate, or we're seeing like a system that connects like Houston to Dallas, which is gonna like boost the GDP for both fucking cities, like tremendously, and everything in between.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
and
the
American
process,
highway
the difference is
system-
seeing it.
The American highway system was exactly that kind of project as well. And like the 40s or 50s or wherever they start, like they announced the interstate highway system that was reliant on the military. And they were like, oh, we need this for the logistics of the military or whatever. People are like, oh, that's a boondoggle. You're building a shitload of roads to nowhere. This is a waste of taxes. Who gives a fuck? And basically it ended up being one of the greatest American projects ever made because now as an asshole, you can fucking jump in your car and for $400 worth of gas, you can make it to fucking Portland from Orlando, Florida. In 3 days.
For sure, but the difference is like there's job creation in between. Meantime, you're seeing it built in your lifetime, even if it's not completed. I'm talking about the concept of putting something towards a fund. Like, oh yeah, this is like, and you don't see the fund. You just know that like, oh yeah, you're paying for the bridge tax 500 years from now. It would end up being a huge conspiracy.
There's job creation in green energy.
We're not going to resolve this, and I would actually like to move on to the technological steps that we think would be effective at like kind of like resolving or mitigating climate change. Because the truth is, you just keep saying that like we can't future plan.
Well, no, I'm saying we can future plan.
Half of the panel is saying that we can. And like this is like the mindset of a squirrel burying an acorn, except for extracted out like longer. That's all it is. So like relatively rudimentary animals are capable of this thinking.
This is literally the entire debate is whether we can or not. That's the conversation.
Yeah, I think squirrels can bury acorns and come back to the acorns later. Now we can apply that to infrastructure projects.
I think it's more of a
but you're just saying that I'm right.
Though, right?
You're just saying like, oh, I'm right. So
but Bam, the
issues
there were hypotheticals we were doing earlier, and you just didn't want to engage with them. You just want to move on. No,
because you didn't just engage with my hypotheticals.
What hypotheticals you did not engage with? I'll give any and every one that you want to.
Sure. It's not important because I still don't think it's relevant. But you gave an extreme example. No, you gave an extreme example of like, what if there was a nuke in the woods, and you said it's going to make one company $12, like, or it's going to make a guy
$12. Imagine it's the exact same.
But I'm saying that like you gave an extreme example.
You said I didn't engage with your hypothetical, but it was one of my hypotheticals.
No, but my benefit for the extreme example was saying that like no one got cancer for the 120 years until it got.
Yeah, but the issue is like if that was the case, if that was the case, then it'd be a totally different consideration, and it would be harder to weigh the option. I was to probably say in favor of like don't blow everyone up in 120 years, but it's not real. The issue is it's not realistic to the actual world we live in. Because the benefits of climate change, the whole point is supposed to be analogous to climate change, right? It's just a different way of killing everyone.
Yeah, but you went with something more extreme.
In the case of climate change, it's not more extreme. It's the exact same. It's the exact same thing that's going to happen with climate change. It's the case that we have a bunch of feedback loops. Things like it's just more complicated. It's like nukes are simple.
Yeah. But the reason I didn't want to engage with
methane emission that's locked under permafrost layers. We have things like ocean algae, which if killed off, are no longer existing as a carbon sink.
Yeah.
What if more complicated mechanics?
Sorry, go ahead. Change the analogy.
I don't want to talk about the analogy. I have an extra point. I'm saying I want an extra one I care about is saying someone show me a meaningful difference between advocating on why advocating for people that currently exist wouldn't accomplish all the exact same things.
Because of the.
It's
Go ahead.
On a
So-
constantly
so-
on a constantly
Bam,
updating thing.
Bam,
No,
bam.
so
The
hold on,
issue-
hold on,
here's where this disconnect is happening. Like, it's recognizable to be like a lot of what we have to do is going to be this grand scale. Like, these are goals that are like very large. The things that happen are those things you're talking about. But like, I think we're all just talking about it from the perspective of like the bigger scale, the bigger understanding is, yeah, we probably do have some responsibility to make those small changes to affect that big image, right?
I
But I'm
think
saying
Bam
it's
is
the
actually
how.
touching something really interesting. Counterpoints wants to engage a bit, but
Yeah.
if not, if he doesn't touch on the heart of it, then I'm going to do so.
I
Nina,
also sort of want to
think
yeah,
engage
you
as
wanna-
well.
and
I'm-
Corey and Nina, yeah.
So I want to touch on the heart of it by basically moving past it. I know that's probably not what you want to hear.
Then don't
But
go.
if they-
Let somebody else
if
go.
Bam,
I'll
if
engage with that.
If Bam, I'm going to pull a fanatic. I'm going to keep talking. So if you're saying that you can arrive at similar or slightly different solutions than
Better
I can
solutions.
by having different considerations, I don't give a shit. As long as we like recognize that it's a problem either for contemporary people or future people, and that we need to take actions in order to mitigate it, then we should be talking about the actions that we have some level of consensus on. This
If
is
we're
part of the
building-
reason.
I'm saying there's
This
a
is part of
massive
the
difference
reason.
between
This
those
is
two
part of the
things.
reason. Final point. This is part of the reason why I fucking hate democracy. I don't want to have to like convince like 9 people that I'm fucking right. I just want to say this is the information. This is where we think we're going. Let's go ahead and fucking knock this shit out. But
Also, it's
yeah.
not a massive difference between those two things. It's just a piece of the puzzle. Like the difference is he's just saying I want to build out the interstate railroad system, and you're just looking at the part that affects you and being like, I like that part. But like, it's fine to think that, but
I'm
like
saying
you're
it's the
still a
only
part of
part that
that bigger
matters.
system.
I'm saying any other advocacy is wrong.
Let's let Corey and Nina in, and for the record, I would absolutely make Connor my king. Right? He would be my liege lord.
He has to have the beard back, though,
until
right?
he proved
Yeah, I was
himself to
gonna
be
say
weak.
the beard's the
I'll
requirement.
bring the beard back. It's okay.
all
Until he
your-
proved himself to be weak, and then I would take the throne. Right? So don't turn it back to me. Corey, please.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the authority and fascism is contained in the beard. But I'll engage with Bam's point, and I also want to engage with Lactoid for a bit to understand his position better. But so Bam, like it seems like your position is like you want this constantly updated, as in like we should take the here and now into account, but it's a constantly updating process, and therefore like the future is just like automatically by default.
Well, no, not
Okay.
the future. Again, it's about how far out in the future. I'm saying that even if you want to extend it out to like if you want to extend out like the way that you advocate and shape cities in a 100-year scale, I think you can get exact everything you want done versus like talking on periods like past that don't deal with living
It's
people.
totally untrue, though, right? Like there are things that have to be multi-generational projects. There are things that can't be.
100
they
years
can't
isn't
be
multi-generational.
like 120 years is. So the moment it's like 100 years down the line,
It's
it's
one
clearly the
thing
case
that
that's not
we
going to be
have to
one.
advocate 200 years
there-
ahead.
with 100 years alone, it's not the case that any one person working on that project will be working on it at the end of it, right? Nobody's going to be working for 100 solid years. So anything that
I'm not
needs to be,
working on it.
if you want to take a look at one specific thing, because you asked for an example, the United States government itself is a multi-generational project. We wouldn't have a government at all if it wasn't for the case that we were considering things like, for example, the fact there's precedent that gets set when we have some law in place that lasts more than 100 years. The moment it's 100 years down the line, it has to be people who are working on there more than one generation. The moment it's 120 years, there's nobody who's alive at the start of it will be alive at the end of it.
No, but it's not. But the point is, you can benefit from it in that period. It doesn't matter if you're actually doing the work.
There are
I'm
some
saying,
things that aren't beneficial in the
name
here and now
one
that
thing
are
that we have to
precedents
advocate
that are
for.
set. Yeah, of course.
That
there's
president that said
precedents that are
still
set.
it
Precedents that are
impacts
set
people.
that might be
Cathedral.
okay. The cathedral is one example that I could give. I don't really care too much about the aesthetics of a cathedral, right? I care about what's practical, but I think the cathedral is a fine example. But what I'd point you to is like in the case of, for example, legal precedent that gets set, it's the case that it might be good in the here and now in particular cases that are extremely rare to have the law recognize the particular case and just say, here's what's beneficial. But if that legal precedent, if it's a super, super rare kind of thing to recognize, then that legal precedent of what's going to happen in 120 years in regards to maybe a democratic norm that we've set, then it might be the case that maybe nobody in the next 100 years or so, no president in the next 100 years or so is going to try to undermine that, but a president in 120 might. Right? And if we want to have a society that exists for more than 100 years, then it's the case that we have to take things like this into consideration.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, okay.
Okay. Corey,
Because I want to engage with that, but I guess So it seems like, bam, your time limit is just like 100 years, like a century. That's more or less like the time that you want to
For
operate
sure,
in.
yeah, on the
So,
upper end.
and
that's
you
like the
you
highest
you want to
range.
take into consideration like basically the unborn have like no factoring into that.
Absolutely not.
So like obviously I don't know your entire life situation, but hypothetically, your grandchildren, which I assume you don't have, has like no bearing on any decision making whatsoever.
I'm pretty sure my grandchildren are going to be alive in 100 years. But yeah, no, they don't. They're not a
Okay,
factor.
no, that is as long as just want to get that out there. But so yeah, Lactoid, to hopefully understand your position better. So I'm going to lay out a hypothetical that might be a little bit abstract, but I think it's still sort of in the realm of realistic or in the ballpark of realistic. Where assuming you accept the premise that whatever the wildfires in Canada have some link to climate change, but you might reject that premise. But let's say like the wildfires don't stop, and like there's this cloud of smog and smoke that just settles on your town. And it's just like there now, the wildfires don't stop. And I think there's robust research linking like pollution, et cetera, to negative health outcomes. Assuming that's the case and like that, this cloud settles on your town, do you feel like your town has any sort of merit for restitution, or like you're just like bad luck?
Yeah, this is the part where I struggle the most because, like, in the event that you could show who did it, that would be one thing. So
Right.
I'm actually
That is the
fairly
challenge.
right. That's the challenge. So I'm fairly like sympathetic towards, let's say you had an individual who like hey, my groundwater was poisoned because you did this, and I can show it. Or like, yeah, you released all this smog, then we can like literally trace the trail going over my house. Like I can show you doing this. You should have to pay for some kind of damages for what I was hurt. I can see that argument, and it's actually really convincing. But when you have scenarios where like it's so abstract, like how do you
Yeah.
show like climate change?
And,
Like for
and it's
example,
impossible to calculate.
in the lawsuit, she was saying, well, I can't play soccer anymore because the temperature fluctuations caused by climate change, which is caused by these Montana coal companies, is so great that I just can't, I can't play soccer anymore. Like we're talking about like harms that are so like under like proximate cause are so like detached from what you can like reasonably show and connect that
Sure.
I don't think that you can show that this person harmed you, right?
Okay. Which I think that is a fair point, because like it's a very difficult, if not impossible, calculation. I would just maybe zoom in, and I think you do this intuitively on a personal level, as in like, so I obviously, again, I don't know your life or lifestyle, but I'm assuming on your day to day you do not make the most unhealthy or the most pleasurable diet choices, unless you do.
I don't know.
Okay, so why? Because again, future lactoid doesn't exist. And I don't think you can link any single diet choice to any negative future health outcome.
Okay,
So
but
why-
lactoid exists, right? Lactoid exists right now, and lactoid is very interested with future.
No,
lactoid's
but
well-being.
future lactoid doesn't exist. That is like, I would say you act, or rather, as the way
This is a
you
very
maybe-
deep philosophical question, like the stream
it
of
is.
consciousness. What is you? What is a person, really? When you
No,
like think
no,
about it deep
well,
down.
okay. Would it be fair to say
Well,
that
you
some of your
exist, you
choices?
exist.
Yeah, I'm going to get to the heart. Would it be fair to say that some of your choices don't factor in, or you act like you don't care enough about future lactoid?
I agree with you that if future lactoid can show that past lactoid harmed future lactoid by ingesting junk food, then future lactoid has a very good case against past lactoid to feel very bad about himself.
Yeah, but so I'm trying to link that if you cared more about future lactoid, which is an emotional process, you would probably be more motivated to make healthier choices. And I would say that lack of caring is probably maybe reflected in your behavior.
No, look, hold on. I absolutely, let's be absolutely clear. This is part of the reason why I haven't been like jumping down people's throats in this, even though I think some of the claims are kind of weird. And I have some issues with some of the specific philosophical assertions. Overall, I think it'd be a good thing. And I think capitalism and the free market has made great strides, especially through Elon Musk, at getting things like electric cars, things like computers, for example. Replacing paper has been such like a massive part of reducing climate change. I think those are all great things, and I think we should end all subsidies to coal and oil tomorrow, which we provide them a lot of money. But when it comes to, like, again, the very specific situation of we're going to hold this one factory accountable for climate change, even like because we factored in all the negative externalities that come with global coal burning, but we also haven't factored in things like the positive externalities of U.S. domestic power compared to the rest of the world, geopolitical influence, the fact that economic access now is worth more than economic access later. How much is that priced in? Aiko said something about how if you just measure the effects of like coal on America alone, it's negative. But I'm having difficulty finding convincing data to suggest that, right? I'm not seeing if you factor in like all of climate change, you can make that argument. But when we're talking about U.S. domestic power and like the advancement of the world's greatest democracy, it gets like more dicey. There's like it's more complicated, and especially for this lawsuit, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that's a misunderstanding of what I said, just to clear it up. What I said was that if you factor in the externalities of the coal industry would collapse. I wasn't talking about America as a whole. I was talking about the coal industry itself. It can't pay for its own externalities.
And
that's because it's an industry that costs more to exist than it makes in terms of profit. If the industry was the kind of one that was a net positive to the world, it would make a lot of sense to keep it around. If it's the kind of thing that is more expensive for society overall, and the only reason it can exist is by passing the cost buck onto people who are going to suffer from it, then why have a coal industry at all? Why not move to things like Counterpoints is talking about, like fission, which even though it has a longer ROI, 10 years versus the coal industry's 2 years, has a lot more power you generate per dollar. Or solar, which has quick ROI and has more power you generate per dollar, but just isn't able to compete with coal because of the fact that coal has existed for much longer.
And also, just the fact that it's an impossible or difficult calculation, I would say that still doesn't stop you on a personal level, even in your own decisions that you make. As in, again, I get this from my experience as a personal trainer and clients that I have coached or potential clients, where it's like, yeah, why make healthy choices? I could get hit by a car tomorrow and die. But you don't factor that into account. Same thing as if you probably don't factor into account of like, there could be a cure for heart disease and cancer and stroke in 50 years, but you don't take that into account. Now, should you? Maybe you should, but I would say you intuitively don't factor that into your daily personal choices. Where, again, I think you intuitively know that you should look, or rather take into account future lactoid. And that if you cared more about future lactoid, I would say you might be even more motivated to make healthier decisions. And I think that, what is the difference between you and a clone of you that happens to make better choices? Who reflects more caring for themselves?
You can ask this. I do want to make sure Nina gets in before the end of this.
And the reason why I'm struggling with this is because there are plenty of times in which I will make judgments as to immediate gratification, regarding, despite the fact that there might be future long-term consequences. Every human does, first of all. But also, second of all, there are times in which I might be sacrificing my health in the long term to achieve other goals that I might find to be particularly important. One example could be something as simple as driving to work, right? Which I do for my own economic power, to enhance my own economic ability. But by leaving the house, I'm presenting myself with a whole host of risks. And I'm also polluting the environment, right? This is like where the difficulty comes in. Should we be subsidizing the coal industry? Absolutely not. But, it's a lot more complex than just saying, well, coal's bad, so let's just get rid of it, right? What does getting rid of it mean? I would like to see more of, let's say, a kind of a market transition towards green energy. I have faith that green energy will be cheaper in the future. So I would like to see that, and I think we do see that happening. But not only am I not convinced that abolishing coal right now would be effective, but also, and from a legal perspective, which again, this originally was about a lawsuit, there's just no standing here, right? There's no, you can't, if you can't point to somebody, hey, you guys did this to me, like you got to show some kind of concrete line, as opposed to what you did contributed to temperature changes, which contributed to me not being able to play soccer. Can you agree that's pretty fucking ridiculous? We all know it's bull.
We all agree the law. Yeah, it's not gonna fucking. They're not gonna win. They're gonna win the fucking trial.
It was like a protest.
Let's be realistic here.
They're
like
wasting judicial resources to protest.
Well, hold on.
Before you do that, I want to make sure Nina gets in, and then we can go to Synth, who is not on my screen. Oh, there he is. All right, go ahead, Nina, please.
It just seems like you're just doing like kind of like the I just don't like this, so I'm gonna just complain about it type of thing. Where it's just like I don't know why. Like, you're right. We all agreed on that about the legal basis. Of course, that's your expertise, right? And none of us, I think, countered that in a way where we were like, okay, yeah, they're actually going to get anything from this. No, of course it's a protest, and it really seems like you're just living in some like very, I don't know, unimaginative world here where it's just like, oh, I just don't want anything to change because what? Because you keep saying like,
Hard.
sorry?
Oh, I was saying because it's hard. It's difficult.
No, I said something should change. I said we should end all subsidies for the fossil fuel industry tomorrow. I'd be okay with
Okay,
ending
then
the
why don't you
subsidies and let
support
the
more
market
radical
price it in.
change then? I don't understand. Like, you were such a hyper capitalist. It just seems odd to me. Like, do you think that capitalism is going to do
Well,
really fucking well when half of the beachfront properties are going to get fucked when this, when this.
I mean,
think
actually,
the
seems
climate
like
change
Okay,
happens?
all right. This is
He
like
would probably just argue the necessary changes are being made, right? Like these oil company, even like these fossil fuel companies are investing into like green energy. It seems like everyone's already like slowly realizing
Right.
that these are changes. Like,
Okay,
we
but-
want something more radical. It just seems like Lactoid's
Right.
position is like just let things kind of move
Okay,
as they move.
But I want to make a point
Yeah,
about
he wants to just be
subsidization.
the one sitting in the corner yelling while we're the ones actually trying to like advocate for change.
wait. You
and
called
we
you
think
called
we're
a-
doing
his
that.
sitting in the
though.
corner yelling. You said like a lawsuit, fight like with a front of a judge. Well, that's part of the protest. You're literally
Mhm.
expending judicial resources. Just
To be fair,
yelling.
Lactoid, isn't like every time something goes to the Supreme Court because of like some long process of protests that have been happening in a country that expects some change and some review? Not every, but like a lot of
but
those,
normally
like,
they have
reviews
a
are that.
That's healthy.
Normally, yes, it's true.
As a
but, like,
Canadian, I don't
normally
know
they
why
have a
you care
basis,
about
right?
this.
True.
Okay, can I talk about subsidization? Federal subsidization is good, actually. It's good. You should
Based.
enforce things that like help families thrive. So subsidized
Like,
food.
just the concept
cheap-
of
cheap
subsidization.
food.
Oh my god, nobody's gonna argue against this. Are you literally just gonna
Lactoid
move that?
is.
I will.
Lactoid just
Lactoid
is.
Yeah, I will.
You don't
Lactoid
think
is.
that subsidies? Okay.
No, I don't think
You
corporate
want to get
subsidies
rid
are a
of
good
subsidies
idea.
for petroleum.
Yes, for oil and gas, the government should not be giving money to oil and gas companies. Is that crazy for him?
Should we
Yes,
those
that's
in
crazy.
particular.
Should we
Oh, okay,
subsidize some
my
of these
bad.
green energy?
Hold on.
if
I
not
thought
even
I
the,
was
like,
the. You know,
I want to.
Guy,
wanna-
I'm gonna-
Oh, go
I
ahead,
want
go
to
ahead.
explain this as best I understand it. Okay, so the reason why the oil and gas companies are subsidized is because they take massive capital investment in order to drill in places that you don't know whether or not there's oil, in order to do exploratory shit, in order to get the technologies and the drill bits and the expertise in order to do it. It's a massive capital investment, and this is the lifeblood of the modern world.
How much does
So,
an
so
oil rig
basically,
cost?
if we're exactly, Jesus, probably billions of dollars by itself. So saying like, yeah, get good oil and gas industry. If they don't get good, then what we're effectively talking about is a freezing of the global economy. That is not a risk worth taking. The entirety of the world is reliant on petroleum and petroleum products. So what I'm saying is, instead of exclusively subsidizing petroleum and petroleum products, which will be a part of the energy portfolio for probably millennia to come, because plastic and oil is such a versatile substance, what I'm saying is diversify the things that you're investing in, like nuclear fission and renewables and whatever the fuck else, geothermal.
Wait, you want to
all that
socialize
bullshit.
these things? Because it seems like generally how it goes is you would socialize the risk and privatize the gains, right?
Can I ask one question before we move on?
Yeah.
I want to ask Lactoid a question, particularly
Wait,
regarding
can I quickly?
subsidy.
I want to respond to kind of.
Okay, go.
one-
Yeah,
one
that's
more
fair. That's
time.
super fair. That's super fair.
You're
Yeah.
right. So, the oil and gas companies, I will adopt a little bit of a stance of too fucking bad, right? All these corporations should be pricing in the price of their goods in the product that they sell. If the natural cost of a hamburger is $50, then so be it, right? A hamburger should sell for $50. If the natural price of gas is what's blah 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 blah, then so be it, right? Like, because when you steal people's money and you give it to those particular industries to lower the cost of that product, what you're
Right.
doing, you're first of all encouraging the use of a product that is not good for the environment, and second of all, you're draining people of money that they could use to make their own consumer decisions about what they want, and maybe they want electric
That's not how
cars
subsidies
instead
work.
of.
Wrong. This is
The
just
subsidies aren't. The
Isn't the
subsidies
government-
aren't
Like a
taking money from.
Canadian.
Well, the
Doesn't
sub-
the government also
he
subsidize
considers all
electric cars,
taxation.
for
It's
example?
down
Like, we're
the
the
line.
subsidization
these
is
green-
the subsidization for these companies isn't in the form of like you take money from one person and hand it to the company. The subsidization is that you don't tax the companies.
No.
That's
A
the
lot
way-
of it's
I
also
can
no.
come
A
into
lot
that.
of it is direct to
It's a
a lot of
10 to
it's
50. the vast majority of it, like 99% plus, is going to be coming in the form of just not taxed.
So yeah, a significant percentage are when you factor in things like health externalities, which I've already agreed, right? If you can show direct links,
yeah, I agree.
If you can show direct links and like groundwater pollution, if you can show direct links, maybe there's a little bit of a basis there. But I'm talking also about the direct cash transfers, which do exist, in which, yes, the government is taking money from people and giving it to these organizations, which we do with agriculture. And agriculture is a massive part of climate change as well.
I agree with agriculture, but agriculture does happen, right?
And we give them a bunch of our fucking stolen money.
For coal in particular, how many dollars per year do you think are going to coal in terms of direct cash transfers? The $50 billion in terms of fossil coal fuel and so on. In subsidies are coming from not taxing them things. How much money do you think is going there towards direct?
I want to give a complimentary thing for Lactoid to respond to. That way we just don't go back and forth on like what is subsidy. Okay. Petroleum is such a versatile product. Everything in my room is coated in some level of petroleum. There's plastic in my monitor. There's plastic infused in my wood.
I think he probably jerks off with petroleum.
There's probably petroleum in that as well.
I'm married. I'm married with children. You're assuming I have time and privacy enough to jerk off. That is wild.
No time privacy.
There is plastic throughout my room, and not just that, the utility of the amount of plastic that I have allows me to do crazy economic things, like make a few $1,000s per month talking shit about politics and Warhammer 40,000 on the internet. The utility of petroleum as a product is a infinite boon to humanity. Like, I don't think you understand how much of a miracle technology oil is. It's just that we're not calculating in the externalities. So, okay, but what I think is obnoxious about what you said is you said the price is the price. So basically, if we stop subsidizing, let's just say we just tax oil companies like everybody else. We don't give them direct cash transfers, and then oil quintuples in price, and you have like a third of the economy come to a standstill. That would benefit nobody.
I have to challenge that. How do you think that the United States companies drill in the United States to get oil?
Fracking?
I just feel like people don't want the liberty that.
Like, do you understand the idea?
No, the point is a lot of it's on government land.
It's already government land, motherfucker, is my point.
Yeah, but the United States isn't investing in actually like building on that. I looked it up. It was like to build an oil rig, it can go up to $1 billion, and that's on land. In sea, it's even crazier.
We could never afford that in the United States. It'd be crazy.
Could BP afford $1 billion oil platform?
I'm talking about socializing this type of thing.
I mean,
you don't want to socialize every
like something that I don't think.
I'm not talking about every industry. I'm talking about one. It's our fucking land that we're.
Want to do that.
That's I'm not talking about socializing it. I'm just saying that.
All right, we don't have to get into the weeds with it.
Yeah, these companies, are massive companies, obviously, and I think the idea of oil quintupling, if we stop giving them our money, is first of all absurd. But then if that is the case, what that means is that we're taking a whole fuck ton of money from innocent Americans in order to keep the price of gas so cheap.
People don't want that.
So in a market,
people don't want the freedom you're advocating for.
Okay, well, but I do.
That's why we live in countries. You don't have to live here. You can go live.
I mean, the reality.
You choose to buy into a society that we pay
into citizenship.
That's what taxation
is. How do you move to a new society? Bam. How do you move to a new society? Bam. How do you move to a new society?
Where would I go?
Anyway,
no, how?
You go to the woods? What Montana?
I was here first.
How do I get to Montana?
On a road you can walk.
True.
They're not going. They're not going to tax me in Montana.
Not in the woods.
Not in the woods. Off the grid. If the IRS finds me off the grid, they'll take my fucking goats and gold.
You go to Alaska, isn't it?
You think there's not people in the United States that don't live
here? Bam. Let me ask you this. So, is your overall argument that just by virtue of living in a society, you consent, therefore, to the rules a society puts on you?
No, I'm saying people not just like inherited consent. I'm saying people literally consent. They want to be here. They want to buy into the simplicities that come into
you don't think that there are plenty of laws you disagree with.
No, but I'm saying that people buy into the concept of being a part of society. People don't want to have to figure out how to do their own electricity. If they like cut off the electricity tomorrow and said they're like, hey, you can have it or not have it.
What I'm saying.
Look, it is what he's saying. He's saying that people. He's saying that people don't want to He doesn't want anything to be publicly funded. He wants private citizens to have all their money.
Well, that's true, but we're talking about that's true, but we're specifically talking. We're specifically talking about gas, though. I'm saying I don't want gas to be publicly funded here.
But you would say that for anything else, though.
Well, I would, but you guys should agree with me at least for the gas part.
Wait,
I mean, I actually
isn't the
agree with Lactoid
reality-
for the
isn't
gas
the
part. even though-
reality-
Yeah,
Isn't the reality that like as
We
as
can come
move
together on
away
this one.
from the use
Yes,
of-
yes.
As we move away from the use of gas, we're just gonna have like we're still gonna have those rigs. Some of them are probably gonna be shut down, but we're still probably gonna be able to keep up necessary capacity for like gas-based products.
But like,
Like,
what
I think we'll be fine.
Well, I agree with Lactoid that we shouldn't be paying these people money or cutting their taxes to like give them extra free money. Again, Lactoid disagrees with that part, right? In fact, what we should be doing is increasing their taxes because what they do, and Lactoid should be able to agree with this, is not even out of line with his ethics. They're violating other people's consent on Lactoid framework. That's bad. They're violating other people's consent by virtue of pumping this shit in the atmosphere. Other people aren't asking that. Other people aren't saying that's okay. Other people aren't saying I'm okay with you pumping coal onto my property. Even Lactoid should be able to agree that there should be externality taxes. It's not a violation of anybody's knowledge.
No, direct response. No. Fuck not. Not even
Why
no.
not?
Fuck no.
Why not? Why not? What's
Are
with
you
the counter?
speaking
He
for him
loves
now?
petroleum.
Because I looked it up. 92% of oil subsidies are deferred taxes.
I said coal.
8%.
No, I have that
Well,
website up.
okay,
That's not all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and then, what I found for the petroleum. Okay, so I sorry, Synth, if I misunderstood you, but I'm still going to make my point. I am talking about oil and gas in general. So what I found, Lactoid, feel free to correct me, is 92% is direct deferred taxes, 8% is direct cash transfers. I think that is perfectly fine, perfectly rational. And you don't add taxes because all that's going to happen is they're just going to pass that on to the consumer anyways. And then effectively all you're doing is you're taxing. Okay. Yes. You don't add taxes. What you do is you have them build externalities into the calculus.
That's
So you
an externality
basically
tax. It's a Pagovian
No,
tax.
no.
That's what you just depicted.
No.
Yes.
Because I do not want the federal government collecting revenue from oil companies in order to transfer it into public constructions. I want oil companies
The humanity.
to be building. I want oil companies to be building industrial carbon capture machines as a part of their calculus.
Have they done that?
Look, you understand that increasing carbon taxes is sufficient such that it would disincentivize them from pumping carbon into the atmosphere with just a Pagovian tax. That's what you just asked for, is a Pagovian tax. That's an externality tax.
I need to step away really quickly. Guys, be good.
probably
All
should
right.
be Will Smith next topic.
Aiko is the adult in the room, so he's in charge. And Aiko, you can say whatever you want in a second, but I have to step away.
He can say whatever he wants when he's
You're
muted.
I don't need
That's
to
how
say
you know
anything.
he's a boomer.
Yeah, I'm gonna moderate on
clarify
mute. I
something
think
as
that's the
well.
best way to do it. No, listen. I want to sort of compliment what Counterpoints is saying because it would be a very bad idea to abruptly end subsidies for fossil fuels. And the fact is, there are two. I'm for ending fossil fuels, just like a lot of people are. But there are two ways to do it. You can do it on the supply side, which is like the pull method, or you can do it on the demand side, which is the push method. The push method is way better. That is to say, if you subsidize like renewables and nuclear and anything else that's going to be like net zero carbon emissions to the point where it's cheap and reliable, it starts pushing out fossil fuels from the industry, the portions of the industry that pump CO2 into the atmosphere. That is, other Counterpoints is right that there are other uses for oil that will continue to exist, and that's fine so long as they're non-emitting uses. And so if we follow the push side of this, then you can continue subsidizing oil and gas all you want, so long as the subsidies for clean energy are enough to where ultimately fossil fuels can't compete even with the subsidies they're getting.
So what the issue here is as like a massive increase in the money supply, if you want to do that through government funding, right? The way that you do that, you end up printing more money, you end up pushing that money there. Increase in money supplies cause more inflation. You have to tax them back out anyways, right? If you want to make sure that you have a stable amount of, if you have stable money supply in the economy, you're gonna have to tax it right back out. You may as well just tax it directly from the people who caused the problem, as opposed to doing roundabout taxation.
Well,
Okay, so
carbon
can I
tax is a way to do
articulate-
this.
Yes,
Carbon tax is a
yes,
way to
that's it, exactly,
you can
that
achieve
works.
push. You can achieve demand side push taxes through carbon tax. That's fine. All I'm saying is like those carbon taxes can coexist with the subsidies.
I
Like,
agree.
I know it sounds
like the subsidies for the solar and for the fission and so on, but also we need an externality tax on carbon, on climate change.
Well, also, we don't want oil, put it this way, we don't want fossil fuels to go in such a way that total supply of energy starts dropping and everyone starts paying a shit ton for their power bill or for their gas bill
smooth
and all of that.
transition,
We want to do it in a way where as we get more and more cheap renewables and EVs and things like that, prices go down, not up. And then the fossil fuel industry can't make a profit because they can't supply at the rates that are necessary to meet demand at the price range that things are at. You want to push them out of the market, not pull them.
If the prices are going down because of the fact that you're like dumping more money into the money supply, that dollar value is going to go up either way.
There's a glut of energy is what happens.
Okay, Synth, I want to articulate why I don't like the middleman as the taxes. I would rather regulate the externality onto the industry, and if they pass on the cost to the consumer, I don't give a shit. That's fine. That kind of goes back to Lactoid's point that ultimately you just calculate the cost in of the externality. The reason why I don't want to end subsidization or add taxes is because, one, you're adding administrative cost. And then two, you're not necessarily getting that revenue because you're going to have to put it back into the system somehow. And then three, we are very bad at pooling our tax resources. Basically, what happens whenever the federal government gets involved as a middleman is they'll use any pool of resources for any immediate project that they're looking on that's directly in front of them. So I don't want the ending of oil taxes to go to some other federal program. I want them to deal exclusively with the externality of carbon produced by the petroleum industry.
Why do you think taxing the industry directly as opposed to your option, which instead of taxing the industry directly using an externality tax, you want to do it through regulation? Why do you think the taxation is going to be more expensive in terms of bureaucracy than regulating them and then having a regulatory body check if they're complying with a huge list of regulations?
It's not a huge list of regulations.
If it's two, it would still be more expensive.
I don't know why, because basically if you're saying
either way, you have to check how much carbon you're emitting.
Hold on, I'll explain it, and then you can explain to me why I'm wrong.
Why?
Okay, I'll explain it, and then you can explain to me why I'm wrong.
Gotcha.
So what I'm saying is, if you regulated the petroleum and carbon and whatever industry, the natural gas industry, oil and gas, and you said, hey, you have to have XYZ carbon capture, you have to have like a net carbon capture as a part of your thing. This technology exists. Like I said, if you were to calculate it out for gasoline, it would roughly add 50 cents for the CO2 produced. Now, of course, like where do you store it? Where do you put it? We'd have to figure all this shit out, right? But let's say that you add that on there. That means that as a part of their operating model, the institutions are going to basically build those factories, and then they're going to include that as a part of the regulation. Whereas if you say, hey, we're going to tax you for the externality of producing carbon, what you're doing is you're trusting federal employees to take the revenue taken from oil and gas companies, build the fucking carbon capture machines, maintain the carbon capture machines, and do that as a fucking runaway public expense.
What? No, you don't have to do it. What are you talking about? No, you literally just measure what is the carbon output from this plant the same way you do in either case. And if the carbon output is a certain amount, you take that number, you multiply it by a price, and you say, now you have to pay this in the taxes. That's all you have to do for my proposal.
But
in your case, you have to do that anyways. Hold on. Just a second. You talked for a while, right? Or in your case, you have to do that exact same process anyways, and then you have a regulatory body that instead of being something like here's how much money you owe, instead it's you've passed the threshold here, this magic Boolean line, right? And now because it's exceeding the Boolean value, now we're gonna like send somebody in, and there's the exact same level of bureaucracy in either case for just one regulation. If you want anything more complicated than that, you have to go have people go in and check that there's a carbon capture machine and all of these like ridiculous things that you'd have to do otherwise. If you just do it with my proposal, one process. It's very, very, very simple. It's way easier.
I am missing a part of your calculation, and it's so glaringly obvious. I'm hoping you can just explain it to me. So you have somebody who is producing petroleum and CO2. You're saying it's as simple as the federal government doing a calculus and taking money from that person.
It's a tax, yes.
What does the federal government do with that money? Because now the CO2 is in the air, and the government has the money.
Okay, that's
What
not
is
how
done
that's
with
not
that
how money
money?
spending works in the government, right? It's not the case that by taxing the money, what you've done is you have more money to spend. The government spends as much money as they want, as it exists, right? So
Counterpoint.
goes-
the
You're
not
point of it
answering
is
my
to.
question.
You're just
When I
not
am
addressing
answering your
it.
question, I am answering your question. You have to wait until I'm done, and you'll figure out the answer. So the answer to your question is that that's not how taxes work. Taxes you don't take the money, put it in a big money pile, and spend it on things in the future. It's spent on nothing. What you do is you take the taxes and you use that to control the money supply. That's what taxes do. They control the
Okay.
money supply. It spends on nothing.
I'm going to
It's
repeat
out of the
this.
economy.
I'm
Counterpoint.
gonna
Can I
how
try
does
to
that
answer
fit
it
the
for you?
environment?
Because I
I'm
think I
gonna
know what you're
repeat this.
asking for.
He's
I'm
trying to
gonna
capitalism the
repeat this.
government.
I'm going to repeat this.
Counterpoints, please.
Yeah,
I think I know
FK,
what
are
you're
you going to
asking
answer
for.
it?
I
But
think
since
yes.
that's the answer.
Okay. The
Yeah.
thing that you want those devices, the carbon capture technology, to be built, right? The incentive for those companies to build it is that those taxes exist in the first place, right? The more carbon they capture, the less they're emitting, and because they're emitting less, the amount they're paying would be lower, right? That would be their perspective
Okay,
on like
this
why
is-
that
Okay,
technology would
so
be built.
so to me, I'm going to be a little mean. I've debated y'all before, but so know that this is said with the utmost love and respect.
Ooh.
I think this is fucking retarded. And the
Okay.
reason why it's retarded is because what effectively you've done is put less produced energy into the system because you have less energy that's being produced. Why the fuck would you want to do that when the entire economy is based off of energy production? So I'm going to
Why would
ask
this
the question
To be
again.
honest, can we ask
again.
the group
We're
here?
jumping from point to
Does
point to
anyone
point
understand
with
what the
weird
fuck
complaints.
that he's saying?
No, I've
But
been on the
it's, no, no,
same
no,
point
it's
for
just
the
a new
past
take.
5
It's just a. I understand what you're saying.
And
It's
I'm
just
just
completely
agreeing with
unrelated to the
the
last thing
point
you
for
said.
the
I am
Right?
so.
You were saying there's a
Alright, hold on,
bureaucracy
Mina,
concern.
then
There's
says-
Wait,
not.
wait,
Now
wait,
you're.
let's
going
do
to
this one at a time.
I'm going
Yeah.
to ask the same question again. Okay?
Mhm.
I've been on the same point for the past 5 minutes. And I
Mm.
think I heard your answer and I hate your answer. So I'm gonna ask the question and I'm gonna explain your answer and I'm gonna explain why it's unsatisfactory to me. Okay? So a oil company produces energy for the American economy, okay? They extract oil from the ground, they sell it to people at a certain given price, they take the money, they create a certain amount of CO2. The federal government takes a certain amount out of taxes, which what I've heard from FK and from you, unless I'm misunderstanding something, is disincentivized by the mere fact that the taxes exist. Okay?
No,
But
no,
what that-
I understand what you misheard, right? No,
Okay,
we're not
please.
disincentivizing the taxes with the taxes. That's not what we're disincentivizing. We are disincentivizing CO2 production with the taxes because they're expensive.
But
They
it's still
cost money.
produced. But the part that is produced, you're not solving it. That's definitely the
Yes, you
It-
are. You
it's-
produce
if
less
the-
because
if
they're
the
expensive and you
economy-
take
if the
measures to
economy-
cheapen
if
up
the
your business.
economy- If the economy is reliant on CO2 production, because I'm sorry to break this to you,
Oh
but
my God.
fish and I don't know why you're being condescending at all. This is
Fishing.
actually like very
You were being
straightforward.
condescending. Are you complaining about somebody
You're
else being
right. I did call
condescending?
you
Probably have to
retarded.
move on pretty
So let
quickly.
me.
Yeah, that's not
My
even
bad.
condescension. That's a direct calling somebody else a retard. Somebody else is
I
going to
did-
somebody's going to be
I did
condescending to you back,
apologize.
given
I
that you have
did
no understanding
apologize.
of how taxes work.
I did apologize and I said I loved you beforehand. So I hope
I love
that
you too.
blunted me calling you a retard.
Oh.
So what I'm saying here, what I'm looking for is there is an economic activity that needs to occur. And even with fission and renewables, that activity still needs to occur.
at a high
If the
rate.
taxes are disincentivizing the CO2, but the energy still needs to occur, effectively all that happens is the CO2 is produced, the energy is delivered to the economy, and the federal government is now left holding cash. I know you're saying, no, Synth, I understand what you're saying where the government can print unlimited sums of money. I understand what you said, but I'm saying that there is a literal cash transfer between the people who are paying taxes and the institution that guards the taxes, but the CO2 is still in the air.
The
So how
CO2
fuck
is not in the air.
you
It's
get the
more expensive, so people buy less CO2. Look, if you have
I-
if it's $1 million
He's
for a
talking
car,
about
people wouldn't
capitalistic
buy cars.
incentives.
So-
I don't know how this is complicated.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you guys. We've already gone over discussing this topic again. We were late starting the stream, technical difficulties, but you guys are much more invested in this than I thought. So I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna put it up to a vote whether you guys would like to move on to the next topic, or if you guys think there's enough for us to
I'm ready
keep
for Muslims.
discussing. You're ready for Muslims, okay? We'll
Inshallah.
do it democratically. I mean, he is a white man, so he has spoken, so that should be the end of it. But we'll go
True.
And he shaved his beard.
and he shares there. But
It's very feminizing in
Corey?
Islam. So as a feminist, you should support me as well.
Move
I
on.
always support you.
move on.
I
Move
can say
on, it's
one
fine.
sentence, but then afterwards we can move on.
Okay, I will let you. I will let you do that, Nina.
Thank you, Prime.
Yeah, I'm okay with moving on. I would love Lactoid sentence.
The eyes
All
have
right,
it.
everyone gets a vote, even though if it doesn't matter. Synth.
I want one sentence after lactoid sentence, and then we can talk about whatever you want.
Is the sentence
I want the
Lactoid
last
is wrong?
Yeah, I want 2 words after Lactoid speech.
Aiko.
I want to reply to everybody's one sentence,
Why don't we do outros and next
like one at a time.
Oh, that is
and
a good.
FK?
Could we do outros and then next topic? Because I had a sentence too.
Oh, okay. All right. So
It sounds like we should just keep doing this topic.
Yeah,
really.
we're gonna move on very quickly after all the sentences.
Yeah, we got it. All right. So to have enough time for the next topic, we are going to have to keep it short, okay, guys? So like 2, 3 sentences. I'll be generous, right? Like just so you know, don't pretend like I never gave you anything. 3 sentences. So we'll
Dude,
we want to do our so we'll start
Prime
back.
just split our sentences like Jesus with the bread. That was crazy.
Okay. Yeah, so very quickly, a while ago, before Counterpoints and Synth went back and forth, Synth said that I would logically be in favor of excise taxes, or I guess inferred that I was in favor of excise taxes on the oil and gas industry. I want to be very clear. I'm against subsidies. I am not in favor of taxes. I would like my solution for this, and I would like to see more actually reasonable private causes of action be allowed for if you can show that any kind of polluter has directly damaged you or your property, that you can get recompense from them directly. But you have to show that they actually did something wrong, as opposed to they didn't do anything wrong to you and that you can prove, and the government just dictates that they have and then takes a portion of their money. So
It's a compound sentence.
Oh,
Yeah, compound.
that was one sentence, and you gave me 3, Prime. Okay, go ahead.
Just because you don't pause doesn't mean listen.
All right. Bam.
Yeah, there are a lot of negative externalities and weird conclusions you come to by advocating for people who don't exist. And yeah, I'm just gonna stop there. I just want to disagree with other people, but it's fine.
I see how these people use the conjunctions. Don't think you're getting past me. All right. But let's go to Corey Campbell.
I'll try to keep it brief, but that sentence is not going to contribute to my 3 sentences. But yeah, to wrap it up, I'm in favor of climate reparations.
And Antonita.
We should take into account younger generations and future generations and the unborn. And I understand it's a difficult calculation, if not impossible, but I think we're going to be, there's a lot of things that are going to be impossible, such as effects of microplastics. But I think people more and more are going to want to take these things into account. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Nina, please.
Yes, and.
That was good. Counterpoints, please.
Nukes good, subsidies good, carbon capture good, and
Okay. So I'm assuming there was semicolons between those, so it counts as one. Very efficient. Let's go to my man FK.
Yeah. So yeah, this court case wasn't that serious, but we probably have some duty to take care of the environment around us. I think, like, in my ideal system, I would have the government probably have like some position within these like energy companies and have a little bit more sway, at least to represent the people that government is supposed to represent. And on that last point that you guys argued on for my 3rd sentence, I think you both wanted to get the same thing, the carbon capture devices. It's just one of you wanted to have it be on the companies to build those out on their own, and one of them wants it to be like this incentive where you tax them and you expect them to build it out and then do other things with those taxes yourself for the or across the nation, I guess. That's it.
Very liberal use of commas. All right, let's go to Aiko.
I mean, I don't stop.
Okay.
Grammar policing.
I just want to say this. Counterpoints apologized before the sin, which means he should be a Catholic.
I was raised Catholic. True.
All right, 3 sentences, right? So in regards to Lactoid's statement, the NAP is not going to be violated if you make people pay. Well, I won't call it taxes. If you make people pay for the cost that they cause others. I'm not gonna. I gotta be careful. All of the empirics to support externality taxes, especially for carbon, they've been successful in every single country they've been in. There we go. Whew. Oh, I said there we go. Oh no.
No, I mean
It was also Nicole's, yeah.
we just take a pound of flesh for every sentence to go over. But no, thanks guys. This was a really spirited debate. Like more than I thought it was. I was like I was rolling the dice on this one. I wasn't sure if you guys would take to that first topic, but you guys really did. So thank you so much, really, all of you. So second topic. Oh, before we get there, guys, if you liking this, the things that we're doing, hit that follow button. If you're on Twitch, hit that follow button and make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live, especially when sometimes we're a little late in starting. So that'd be great. Consider subscribing to the channel. None of that commercials bullshit, right? You're done with that. You're a sub, okay? You get privileges. And gifting bits, gifting subs, using Amazon Prime Gaming on the channel. It's really helpful. It allows me to keep doing all of this for you. And if you're on YouTube, consider becoming a member or using the super chat function. And super chats get read out. So like you guys, if anyone wants to like say anything to these individuals, right? And I get it. I wouldn't want to directly interface with these degenerates either, but you don't have to. I'll do that for you. So just pay me through a super chat, and I will read off a comment to you guys. Exclamation social and chat if you're on our Twitch stream to learn how to get to our YouTube. We've got the link right there. So consider subscribing and jumping in there. All right. Thanks all. And let's get to the second topic. Recently, a Michigan town has banned the display of pride flags, among other types of ideological displays. The city council members have claimed that this puts everyone on equal footing and keeps hate groups from also requesting to display their flags. Is this policy fair? Does it protect the public? Is this equal treatment or equal oppression? So yeah, it's just as as it was stated there. This is a Michigan town. And down from the city council, like the government buildings can't like pride flags. It's Pride Month now, and people are quite upset about it. But they say they're basically protecting the rest of us from more unsavory individuals, right? And just putting us all in fair footing. But is that actually the case? Do we actually believe this? All right, so let's go around. We'll start with my man Lactoid.
Yeah, so we actually had not too long ago kind of a similar discussion as to Confederate flags on public land. And one of the common talking points that I heard when it came to that argument was, this is bullshit. There shouldn't be Confederate statues and there shouldn't be Confederate flags on public property because that's public property. The only flag that should be there is the American flag. This is supposed to stand for our nation, not stand for some kind of revanchism,
treason,
Southern treason, whatever it is, right? Or any, of course, the Confederate flag, although it used to represent treason, a lot of people have reinterpreted to mean perhaps Southern pride or something along those lines. But now that that's been solved, and at least the people that I talked to all agreed, well, great, we shouldn't have social agendas or political agendas as flags. It should just be American flag. Now it's changed, and now something that they like as a flag on the government buildings. And now all of a sudden they're very much in favor. Well, now hold on a minute. I really like these flags now. We want more. We want as many political agenda flags as possible because I support them. My opinion has stayed consistent throughout the entire duration of the Confederacy argument and for this as well, which is that the government flying any flag other than the U.S. flag, the state flag, and maybe the municipal flag of the area that the building happens to be in is a waste of money and is stupid. The government should not be in the business of recognizing flags, social movements, holidays, or religious beliefs because the nation does not stand for any of those agendas. And public areas funded through stolen money anyway should at the very least reflect the nation for pragmatic sake and not be reflect political agendas. The government should be doing the least amount possible, and any bill that furthers that is good. This bill does that, saying the government should not be doing this, and therefore it's good.
there's a Canadian joke in here, and I just can't think of it. But like, I wanted that on the
Oh,
record
plenty.
that I was going to say something about you being a Canadian here. All right, put that in.
The
I'm not a
Maple Leaf.
Canadian. I'm not a Canadian.
Mm.
He's a secret goddamn spy.
Only
so-
only the
About your
true
lactose.
Canadian denies his own Canadian.
True.
Exactly.
This motherfucking business is in moose power.
Damn.
Yeah, because we're already short on time, I'm gonna say that I agree with everything Lactoid said, and just to add on to it, there's 2 points like similar to flags, but not exactly. We've already had like similar cases in the Supreme Court, like Stone versus Graham, who made their decision on the concept of putting the Ten Commandments in the school for arguably a lot of these same reasons. Like there's the I think it's the Establishment Clause, like, and the types of things we want to display. We want to be like open and respectful of as many people as possible, especially when you're dealing with like things that can be somewhat contentious. I'm fine with like little winks and nods towards things, like if you want to, turn the like some lights slightly rainbowish color in advocacy or remembrance after like a tragedy or a positive thing happens, that's fine. But yeah, as far as like actual official political organization flags and things of that nature, it's just not what it's meant for.
All right, so we'll move on. But I want to thank the Real Razor for the Prime Gaming sub. Thank you for using your Prime Gaming here. It means a lot. It's free for you, but it does a lot for us. So shout out to you, the Real Razor, for kindly subscribing to the channel and supporting us. More would be helpful, guys. All right, Corey, please.
I am a Canadian like Lactoid, but I'm a true Canadian in that I'm a Quebecer. I can't remember what province Lactoid is located in. But as usual, Quebec is, let's say, ahead of the game when it comes to bigotry and xenophobia, where like maybe people obviously might not know, but Quebec banned religious symbols for public servants. And there was definitely like sort of a controversy in that in our National Assembly, after that ban, for a while, the cross was still allowed to be up. But eventually they acquiesced, realizing the hypocrisy. And I sort of remember the panel that Lactoid was alluding to, which I was on that panel, if I remember correctly, where pretty much I think my position is consistent with that, of like, I'm pretty much in favor of like not erecting statues, tearing down statues, and I would pretty much more or less in favor of just like, should just be the American flag and no other flag whatsoever. I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you so much. And he's from like whatever province Toronto is in. So there you go.
The bad province.
The worst province, apparently. Yeah. Nina, please.
I get really passionate about this stuff because I think there's a lot of like intentional, like, I don't know, pulling the wool over your own eyes. I don't really know exactly how we'd say this, but let's be real. You know why they did it? It's Pride Month. There's a lot of fucking rainbow ass flags out, and they're just some people that are pissed off about it. Let's be real. The only reason why they did this is because they fucking hate gay people. It's pretty obvious to me. Don't know why it's not obvious to anybody else. I think that these people who did this, reading the article, they're just like, being like, oh
people.
yeah, it's because the people that are in the town.
Yeah, these people.
I'm not saying the Jews. I'm saying
North
that the
Africans.
people who did it.
Yeah, she's saying the Muslims.
The Muslims.
I am saying, I guess, the Muslim. It's funny, the guy's name is Muhammad Hassan, so just blame Hassan for this. Fuck it, whatever. Yes, just blame him anyways. Even though Muhammad Hassan just seems like the most like Adam Smith ass name, but like it's like a cliche like name where it's like.
He was the fourth kid.
Yeah. Anyways, we know why this happened. We know why it's news, and we know why. Because some people just don't like the gays, okay? And
what about the mayor?
Their pathetic excuse of this, like, oh yeah, well, I guess you can't like do like a Nazi flag or whatever, so then we can ban like the rainbow flag. Like, this is like insane, like mental illness to the point where they're gonna start like getting like, are they gonna ban like actual rainbows? Like, don't look at it like look at a naturally occurring rainbow, like go against your eyes. Like, no, this is insane mental illness that I just think is bigoted, psychotic behavior. And it's pretty fucking obvious that the only reason they were doing like it's just gonna ban other things, like, because we used to have so many Nazi flags, but finally we put an end to it now that we've gotten rid of all types of flags. Like, how the fuck are they gonna do races? Like with the flags, like the speckled flag's gonna not be or the checkered flag's not gonna be yeah.
Not on the state building.
It just seems like such a fucking hysterical thing to be like, oh, we can't have any of these flags. Oh, so did we historically have the Nazi flags up? Oh, no, we just had the gay flag, and that's why we're banning all flags, because we can't, besides the American one, of course, because you can't have anything political on a government building, because that would be like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So,
just seems very silly to me. Go ahead.
So first of all, I would be totally in favor of like a NASCAR track around the Montana State Capitol building, right? Waving the checker flag, and I would allow that flag. To be fair, right? So
it's in Minnesota, I think.
That flag on that. But yeah, let's Michigan, yeah. But
Michigan, we're both right.
They don't matter. Those states don't fucking matter. Okay, moving on. Counterpoints. What are your thoughts on those people?
My actual position is everything that Lactoid said, but I think this is accidentally based by the Muslims. So I was anti North African and Middle Eastern immigration throughout the entirety of the 2010s, and I was a part of the anti-SJW wave that was saying, oh, these immigrants, they're incompatible with liberalism, and they're not going to understand democracy, and who knows if they're going to buy into our economic and cultural system. And it turns out that conservative Americans and conservative Muslims have way more in common. So it's actually fucking, like, I gotta say, progressives reaping what they have fucking sown in reference to this issue has to be one of the funniest fucking turns of events I've ever seen, where the Muslims are like, yeah, we're all for like democratic neutrality, and we just want like we want representation to be equal, and we're not going to fly the crescent flag of Islam on the state ground, so therefore no, get your fucking gay flag out of here. It's got to be one of the funniest fucking political developments of the past half decade. I'm really happy Muslims being accidentally based, God loves irony.
That's a really fun
to that
take.
really quickly.
We open this. We gotta get through. We already late.
Three sentences.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but really interesting perspective, counterpoints as always. Thank you so much for that, FK.
Yo, so first I'm gonna acknowledge the reason they probably passed this was because they were probably homophobic. Listen, it's LGBTQ Pride Month, right? These people are out here, but what I will say, the way they worded it, the way this law came out is perfect. I do think the best course we can take is when it comes to government buildings, government facilities, even when it comes to like a teacher while she's on duty, they probably shouldn't have any like memorabilia that represents either one group, one ideology, one other thing other than the American flag, because the American flag represents all of those ideologies being represented equally with your vote, your say, your ability to go out there, have your free speech, and argue for what you want to argue, all under the American flag. I'd go so far as to say that when you swear in to office, you shouldn't swear on a Bible, a Quran, a Torah, any religious book. You should swear in on an American flag, because you're serving the people who that represents. When you're on your free time, though, if you're a teacher who is LGBTQ and you're outside in public, you should be allowed to wave your flag. If you want to walk onto a government facility, you should be allowed to wave your flag as an individual, but those people who represent our government and that facility should not take a side in that.
Thank you so much. Aiko, please.
Yeah, I actually agree just about with everything FK said there. I do think that the unintended consequences of this redound pretty well for secularists, and I think they should use this law in that way if it manages to get passed. But I just want to take issue with this idea of the pride flag being the equivalent of the rebel flag. Like, there are three main differences between this and that. One is it was a national flag. It is actually the nation of a country that is not the United States. That's not true for the pride flag. It's not a country. Not that I know of.
Yes.
Maybe one day it will be.
Yes.
Also, it was the flag of slavery. We all agree that this is true. It was also the flag of treason. These are all things that don't apply to the pride flag. But even so, there have been foreign national flags that have flown over the White House before. It's part of our tradition. In 1918, the White House flew the Serbian flag in support of Serbia during World War I. In 1920, we flew, and this is going to be painful for a lot of people to hear, we flew the France's flag in 1920 for Bastille Day. We've flown the South Korean flag. We've flown the South Korean flag. I know that one was a sin. It shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry, but it did. It did. South Korean flag has been flown not outside, but inside the White House multiple times. But also, in far more recent years, we have put the POW MIA flag up. That's a lot closer to the pride flag in that it's not a national flag. It doesn't represent a foreign country. It represents a concept, just like pride represents a concept. I mean, I don't remember this happened, I think, most recently in 2021 when it was flown. I don't remember the Prime panel where people objected to the POW MIA flag being flown over the White House. I just don't remember that. In the 1980s, I saw, but I cannot prove this. I've looked for it. I can't find it, but I saw this. This should be very important for Lactoid. I saw the DARE flag flown over the White House because of Nancy Reagan's support of it. Okay. And I understand that the DARE flag is offensive to many people, but in support of Lactoid, there are some good people that came out of that program. And the point I'm trying to make really is that this is a conceptual flag, not a national flag. So yeah, while I personally, if it never went up over the White House again, it wouldn't bother me. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I do think that if not doing this means that we'll never see anybody try to put up the Confederate flag or the Blue Lives Matters flag or any of those things, then maybe the trade-off becomes worth it.
Okay. And my man Aiko is literally always educating people, right? He never stops being a teacher, always educating the panel. Great work. Synth, please.
Sure. So seems like the main argument from the other side here is that the only flag that should be there is the American flag. All two of the people who gave that argument in regards to the Confederate flag are stupid. There aren't just state flags on public property. There are other countries' flags on public property, and we're totally okay with that. And we even give special privileges to the countries that aren't evil, and we recognize in law that we're allowed to have that on public property. The argument sane people were making in regards to the Confederate flag was that's the flag of an enemy military, that's the flag of a hate group, and that's the flag of a long-dead rogue terrorist state who owned humans as property. America's going to promote liberal values. You can cry harder about it. And no, the reasons we don't put the 10 Commandments up is not for the same reason as the Pride flag. The Establishment Clause is about establishment of religion, i.e. separating church and state. In fact, not banning the Pride flag is clearly a violation of the Establishment Clause. It clearly, transparently, is the respecting of an establishment of religion. The same establishments of religion that hate gay people, because we would not have the standard for, like Aiko said, the Pal Maya flag. So sorry, but your Nazi flag is not on the same standing as this one. All flags promote ideologies, including the American flag. And the reason we fly some and not others is because some ideologies are good and some are bad. Egalitarianism in the government is good. Gay people in the government are good. Trans people in the government are good. Nazis in government are bad. Religious extremism mixing with government is bad. And that's the reason why we fly pride flags and not Nazi flags. And if you don't like it, you can pack your bags and move.
Synth is awesome.
Go off, King.
Open to the panel.
But who decides what's good and bad? The point is that you're living in.
We do. You're an American.
Egalitarianism more than
All right,
wait. Of course.
We decide what's good and bad. If you want to separate yourself, that's not on America to decide. We're gonna fly because we want to separate you as an individual group. If next year a bunch of straight people just started getting attacked, right, and started getting shot up in the streets only for the fact that they're straight, and they created a straight flag, should it be on America to fly the straight flag to be like, hey guys, we're standing with straight people? No, fuck that. It's on America to fly the American flag and then take actions to help out people who are being hurt within this country. We as individuals should look at where we can help those people. If there's gay people who aren't being represented properly, then your goal should be make them represented equally under the American flag. You can fly your flag individually, but America doesn't
you're doing
fly
an
that
all
for
lives
you.
matter argument right now, right? Though
Yeah.
you
How do you
understand
think
that, right?
you're
You're
promoting-
really doing an all lives matter
But
argument.
America is kind of
Why
all
is it
lives
Black
matter.
Lives Matter if there's all lives matter?
Are we allowed to?
flag,
Wait, hold
but
on.
it's on America to
Are we
fly it.
FK? Are we allowed to have Juneteenth celebrations?
It's a federal
Juneteenth
holiday.
celebrations
On public
because
property.
That's a part of American history. That's something that
What about
America
if
took a
yeah,
part
so
of.
are gay
When
people,
we
so is
celebrate
Stonewall.
that, we're celebrating that America
Yes.
has become better as a
So
nation.
is Stonewall, and hopefully we become better with
Yeah, we can
2015.
celebrate.
Yeah.
Federal
If there's like
holiday.
if we decide that there's a national gay holiday, we can celebrate that. But
Do
we
you
don't
think
have
that
to
at the
fly
beginning
gay
of-
flag.
We should
Do you
have
think
one.
that,
flag
hold on,
can
hold
be
on.
there.
Do you think at the beginning of
Stonewall
2021
Day.
it would be not okay to have Juneteenth on public property, and at the end of 2021 it would be okay to have it?
You
you think
have
of 1 year
Juneteenth-
swap?
wait, You can have
Yes, it
Juneteenth,
changes.
but you don't have to fly a random flag that represents all black people. You
Can we
fly
have
the
a
American
Juneteenth
flag and
poster?
be like, you can fly the
Wakanda.
American flag and be like, we want to represent black people.
Can
under
we
the
have a
American flag,
Juneteenth
and
poster?
we want to
Now
represent them
there's a
equally.
federal holiday.
Can we have a
absolutely.
Juneteenth poster at the beginning
Not
of
before it was a
2021?
federal
Could
holiday.
we,
He has to answer
why,
the question.
why does the federal
Flying a
holiday
flag
change
on
the morality?
federal
of it?
Because
Okay.
it's actually a representation of the country. It's went through the proper. It's went through the proper channels to
Why
be
does it-
accepted.
why do we
What
have
are
to-
the proper
I'm not- no, I'm-
channels?
What are the
Okay,
proper channels?
so Bam, I want you to respond. Hey, just quickly, Tal Mahira 33. Sorry, I missed it. Thank you for using your Prime Gaming here and respect of the user called respect. Thank you for 3 fucking years of following the channel, of subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much to both of you. And guys, any more help would be appreciated too. But again, Tal Mahira, sorry for missing that. So Bam, I want you to be a respond. Synth, because it's probably gonna be a direct thing to you, so you can respond. Then we'll go to Ico, Lactoid, and yeah.
It's crazy. Right after the last subject, we were talking about like.
I said Corey. Sorry, I meant Corey. Corey and Lactoid. I was pointing to
Yeah.
Corey. I
Negro
was pointing to
beard.
you. Yeah, it's the white skin. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like just the last topic, we were talking about being able to advocate like for so long down the future, but we're not able to see the short-term consequences of like unilaterally deciding like, oh well, people can do what I think is good, but they shouldn't be able to do what I think is bad. Like who's
Yeah,
making
that's
those
everyone
decisions?
believes that. You believe that too. The
No, I
reason that you're
don't. I
saying I
believe-
shouldn't advocate for this
No,
because you
I'm
think
an
it's bad to advocate for.
institutionalist.
What
No,
here?
I
Wait,
don't-
you're hold on. So if it was the case, the
Oh,
Pride
no,
Month,
can
I
we
would
get
ask one
this?
question,
I
really,
was
really
talking.
fast. Hold on,
I
really.
swear I was talking.
Yeah, if Pride Month was,
swear
when
I
do you
was
think
talking.
Pride Month was
let
recognized?
him
I was
finish.
literally
Let him
Go ahead,
finish.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a strong institutionalist. I believe that as a country, we're a group of people who have a myriad of disagreements and think we agree and disagree on, and the things that are we publicly have to pay into should probably have an obligation to represent the most people in like the weirdest, most milquetoast way possible. Especially when so it's not necessarily about the flag itself. It's not about being pro or anti-gay people. Gay people aren't even a good thing. It's not even, and I'm not saying that means it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's like neutral to be gay. It's
Excuse
not
me?
like yes. It's
An
neutral to be.
existence. You're
It's-
just gay, or you're
yeah,
straight,
it's
or
not
you're
a
something
positive
in
thing. It's
between,
just
or
it's
something else.
it's
You
neutral.
just exist
But
as it.
we're not talking about being gay is a good thing. It's
Wait, I don't want to move on.
inclusivity is a
Hold on,
good
hold
thing.
on, stop.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. I just want to say
Yeah,
that.
that's what
I
I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's just a neutral existence. Like now, if you wanted to do something again, like it should pass through the proper channels, like Juneteenth did prior to 2021. Like it should have been a holiday, sure, but I don't think that we should. I don't think that the government facilities should be representing non-government entities.
Pride Month passed the proper channels in 1999.
Literally.
Is Pride Month an official federally recognized holiday?
It's not a day, it's a month. And it was recognized in 1999 by the president. By the president.
I'll have to look into if it's an official thing. Because it's kind of like St.
Yes,
Patrick's
it was
Day is
official by Bill
recognized.
Clinton in 1999
Not
when it was
official,
proclaimed.
As in, does an office building close?
You have to close for an entire month to recognize Pride. No, it's a month. No.
The whole at this bro, I don't even think we should be flying other countries' flags. Fuck those other countries. We should be flying the American
on
flag.
an
Guess what?
embassy?
Just
If it's
no
like
flags in
this
this
bitch-
country.
You're
I'm
right. We should
Japanese.
take the
I'm
flags out on
Japanese.
embassies.
Should I not have to have should I not be allowed to have a Japanese?
Embassies are
But that's an
literally
insane
representations of other
take.
countries on our land. That's
They're
different.
representations of
insane
us
take.
on our land, on other countries' land.
Yes.
The
Flag
representation
in other
of
embassies.
us in other
we gotta-
The
countries.
UN.
I
Too many
wanna-
flags.
I want to let more people in here. This is great. And yes, we do have like official commemorative months. You can look them up. Like Wikipedia has a list of those things. So like a commemorative months. So let's do
Hopefully not a
Let's go-
Freudian slip there.
Oh, Freudian slip kick.
Let's go to our friend Corey, who I know who he is. From the black side.
Yeah, Sin. So I just want to understand your position better. As where, from what I understand from your opening statement, you are distinguishing sort of, let's say, the extreme example like the Nazi flag versus the Pride flag. Is that there's ideology associated with the Nazi flag?
Yep.
So I'm going to attempt to steelman the other side. How do you respond to sort of a gender ideology?
Yeah, I think that what you're calling gender ideology, or what the other side might call gender ideology, is it seems to be a loosely connected group of ideas. But the one ideology the pride flag represents is correct and accurate and true, and it's morally good. And if you want to make the argument that we shouldn't have gay people in society, the only argument they're going to make for that is going to be a religious argument, and we don't respect establishment's religion here.
Yeah.
Can I add another really quick though? I just want to make sure, Cynth, I think you would agree with this. Like that, a lot of it's just like basically just inclusivity when it comes to like just representing more people that maybe people are not used to seeing.
It's the opposite of inclusive.
Yeah.
The American flag
exclusivity.
represents that. You guys are trying to separate yourself by being like, you have to fly specifically the gay
So
flag.
then when
You
you-
want to separate this one group of people and be
We're
like,
not
white
saying
people have
take
to
down
be
the American
saying
flag and
that.
replace it with a gay
separately
flag.
from the American flag.
Let's
still-
have to Ramos to this
I
this
still wanna
flag,
steal,
dude. That's
man.
fine.
And more handsomer than all
There's
of you.
plenty-
Let them talk, please, Corey.
Yeah, I still want to steal person the other side. So I sort of agree with you in the sense of like, so you're more or less framing the United States as a liberal nation, and that the pride flag sort of in the vein of like liberalism and inclusivity, which like I'm all in favor of. So then how do you respond? And I sort of suspect how you respond. Like, so how do you respond to those who characterize the United States as like a Christian nation, or those who don't recognize liberalism as an ideology, or they're opposed to the ideology?
If you think that the United States is a Christian nation, they're just incorrect. And I'm glad you
Yeah,
asked the
you're just
question.
wrong.
Because the founding fathers, there were some Christians here and there were some deists here and there, and there were a couple of atheists here and there. There was Thomas Jefferson, founding father, who was so anti-miracles happening, he cut his Bible up. Removed every single instance of a miracle. Yeah, I'm sure you are. You seem really intelligent. But in regards to the people who make this argument as a Christian nation, I don't think they're aware that the fact that the history is directly out of line with what they think it is. The United States is not just not a Christian nation, it's an explicitly secular nation. It's one of the few on the planet that has existed for as long as the United States government has, and has been explicitly secular since its start. Other ones that are explicitly secular are all newer than us, with maybe some rare exception I'm not aware of.
But you also say
Separation in church and state, bitch.
I want to. Well, hey, listen. A Democratic representative elected people decided that it was too controversial in order to fly a political activist flag as a part of their community, and so they banned it. So
Did you read it?
democracy, bitch.
Do you think there's any case in which sometimes people
You didn't
democratically
read it,
elected
'cause
do
it was a
stupid shit that you
council.
disagree with?
Yeah, but
It was a
in this
council.
case,
It was not a
accidentally
democratic
changed.
election, my guy.
It was
a
a
council.
Was it a city council? I think what Counterpoint's
Yeah,
probably
it
going to say
wasn't-
is
it
they were
wa-
like
it wasn't-
appointed or something of democratically.
Yeah, I mean, I know this was the argument's going to be, of course, because the dumbass, but like, you understand that it was a council. I know you didn't
You
read
did
it, but
not
I'll
say
just
that
tell
you
you,
loved me
it's a
first. That was rude as
council. It
fuck.
was a city council decision.
Okay.
You think that's a
Let's focus on
democratic
the merits
decision?
of their
This
argument.
is the point,
What's
and
the
this
merit?
Is their point. This is the point, and this is their point, which I think is fundamentally
Oh,
correct.
so we're just going to
that
run away from that. Okay.
Run away from what?
You said it was democratic.
I think it is democratic. I think that city councilmen
Okay.
are representatives of their constituents.
That's a republic. That's where that word comes from. But it's okay.
All
You have
republicans
fundamental
are
misunderstanding.
Is a
We can move on.
republic a form of representative democracy?
All republics are.
Not all republics are. Oh my
You
god.
can't be a
let's move on.
republic. You can't be
think that
representative.
Do you think the
United
Roman Republic was a
States
democracy?
representative democracy?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's like a just complete fundamental misunderstanding here. Go ahead.
Okay. So their point, which I think is correct, is that there are a bunch of political interest groups, and what's effectively happening by flying the gay LGBTQIA plus brown and black flag is
You
you
just call it queer,
are
it's fine,
showing
TG.
a preference to a certain political
Preference?
activist group.
Are you gay if you have a gay flag?
Wait, hold on. You don't have an issue with government showing preference to political groups. That's what democracy is. That's the entire point.
Yeah.
Well, I do have them showing preference to certain political groups.
Yes,
So, for instance,
I agree.
Okay, yeah. So
Why is this one bad?
As we brought up, like Nazis, Confederates, Proud Boys, all that kind of stuff. If they requested, they're like, "Hey, we're a political activist group. We're not violent. We actually have a vested interest in the community. There's enough community
Which they do
members
say
here
all
that
the
we want
time,
to
yeah.
fly." That we want to fly in the, we want to fly on the state capitol too. When is our day to fly the Proud Boy flag on the Minnesota State House? On what
So you all of a
grounds do you
sudden
deny
stop
their
giving
ability
a
to
shit
do
about the
it?
First
Hold on.
Amendment.
Counterpoint. You completely dodged the point. You said some are okay and some aren't, and then you went right back to centrist brain of what is the grounds to deny them. The grounds is they're not one of the ones that are good. They're fucking bad. You agree that Nazis are bad. We went to
According
war
to
with
you,
them.
not according to the United States.
Yeah, according to the United States, yes, the Nazis were bad. They
The
killed
Nazis
them. Yes,
are
they
considered
killed
bad
them.
in the United States. They're protected.
The Nazis are. You understand being a protected class is not the same thing. You understand being
I didn't say
politically
they're not a
protected.
protected class.
You understand being politically protected is not the same thing as the United States saying it's good. The United States fought Nazis, dog. They fucking
still
went and
politically
killed
protected.
Nazis. We
Hold on,
were
it's not an
participating
endorsement.
in
That's
World
not
War
an
II
endorsement.
How many
with the
words
goal
you
of
say?
killing
I'm
Nazis.
still going to
Okay,
use it.
I do want to let our friend Lactoid in. He's been waiting patiently. He's good like that. Thank you, Lactoid.
Yeah, I've got a lot of points. First thing I want to say, I agree generally with Synth that democracy is bad. Thank you for making that brilliant point. I want to follow up by saying, quickly correcting
Looking like
something
a
that was said
Canadian.
before. ICO, the Confederate battle flag, and this is going to be important, I swear. It was not actually a national flag. It was featured on the second and third iteration of the Confederate flag, but in of itself was not a national flag of the Confederacy.
Yeah, it's a battle
And
flag.
well, right. And it was the same design that was on a Mississippi state flag until quite recently. And none of that is actually relevant. All of this is just obfuscation and whataboutism to the real point that symbols can take on new meanings, right? The Confederate battle flag is a conceptual symbol, conceptual symbol that represented the South. And most people understood it to represent the South. Just because in the past somebody has taken a flag to do terrible things doesn't mean a flag can't come into meaning, having new meanings, right? For example, I've seen Antifa assault people with sticks with the pride flags on them. Does that mean the pride flags just mean attacking innocent people? No.
Right.
There's a lot of other, well, okay, maybe for some people it does, but there's plenty of people who don't actually have violent intent when they use it, right? There's also, just to point out more whataboutism, right? The DARE flag, the POW flag, there should be no other state flag. I started off by saying, yes, there should only be potentially 3 flags. Everybody here has been saying, yeah, there should only probably be 3 flags. You guys pointing to the fact that state flags in the past have been flown on public property doesn't actually counter the
Everyone's
point that
saying
we're
that.
saying.
Can we get a hand raising of who says the
So,
Maya flag should be on
everybody,
public property?
everyone who agrees with me says that
Everyone, can you raise your hand if you think that the
Yeah, raise your
Maya
hand
flag
if you-
shouldn't be on public
All
property?
right, yeah.
How? Yeah, the
I-
flag should be flown.
Boom.
It
I
should be
have
or
no idea
shouldn't
what
be?
he's talking to.
Should.
But
All right.
Should be. I'm asking everyone raise your hand if you think it shouldn't be.
If what shouldn't be?
what
Pal Maya, the
Federal
Pal
war
Maya
flag.
flag.
Yeah, I don't think the POW Maya flag should be flown.
You don't. I'm asking anyone else. You said everyone else agrees with you. Let's see a show of hands. I don't see any hands going up.
But since there's an argument here, and I want to let Lactoid finish.
Yeah.
Lactoid
So, yeah.
That's it.
We're getting
Learn to raise your hand in like view of the camera. I don't know
Mhm.
why you're like all
So
over here.
on
buddy.
top of that,
But go ahead,
I'll speak for myself then. I don't think any other flags should be flown on public property. I also don't think the government should be recognizing Juneteenth or
You
any
just want that
holiday
maple-
or any months. There should not be a Pride Month recognized by the federal government, just like there should not be any other month, like a white month or anything else, like a straight month recognized by the federal government. Months are generally stupid. This idea of, well, if you don't like it, you can leave. This is a bad argument because, like Counterpoint said, it also applies to the people who live in that area where they voted to have this law put into place. Well, if you don't like it, you can just leave. It's a kind of a shoot yourself in the foot argument because you can use it literally only when you win. And then whenever you lose, you can't use it because then your opponent can just use the exact same argument
You're
against
missing
you.
the argument entirely.
Well, no, because you said before, you can just leave if you don't like it. 'cause
Yes,
America
the argument is
stands for these
not you
particular
don't
values.
like it. Yeah, the
Obviously,
argument is
that
that you don't
area
like
of
it, therefore
America.
you can leave. The argument is these are good values, and if you don't like them, you should be kicked the fuck out.
Well, yeah,
You
okay.
want to be
Well,
here
those
and
Muslims are
support
going to be
real
saying the
values?
exact same thing
Hold
to
on,
you.
Then they can
I'll
go
trigger him,
away.
I'll trigger him really quickly.
No, they're going to be saying the
Lactoid,
exact same thing to you. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say before it's one last thing. The pride flag is especially like the iteration with all of the different colors and the black and brown has gone on more to just more than representing just like gay people. It's gone to represent a lot of people's eyes. Gender ideology and the pushing of gender ideology in education. That's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people have a problem with it. And I don't think it's just as simple, again, to say, well, if you don't, we're going to push these progressive values, and if you don't like it, you can leave. Well, these other people are going to say, well, we're going to push values that the government shouldn't be respecting establishments of any kind of political agenda, and if you don't like it, you can leave.
That you can't have a government, dog. That's what do you think a fucking government is? Government's oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Let's let Aiko jump in. I know you have a lot to say, Sam. Why don't you jump in next? Does anyone else want to? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I see.
Go ahead.
I see the confusion, like when Lactoid thought everyone agreed with him on this, is because FK said basically, if I'm reading him right, that this law like has some unintended consequences against the people who framed it, and that we should probably embrace it because it has the potential to protect more people than it hurts. I agreed with FK on that. I think a lot of us probably do, that we could use like the precedent of a law like this to help protect us from people who want to put the Confederate flag everywhere, or other thing, or put the cross everywhere, or whatever. Maybe you could view it in the same way as like that like Baphomet statue that got put up in Oklahoma because of the Ten Commandments. Like these sorts of things cut both ways, and to the extent that it can, I can live with the pride flag like not being on the White House. Like that's not a big deal to me if I can get those other things. So I think to the extent that we like might temporarily ally with Lactoid on this, it's over those grounds, not necessarily because we agree with them sort of philosophically. By the way, since it's Juneteenth and we were talking about the Juneteenth flag, there is a Juneteenth flag. It's flying right behind me right now.
Okay, love to see it. Thank you so much. So it's Synth, then Counterpoints, then FK, Corey, and Lactoid, I think. Oh no, Corey and Nina. Excuse me.
Sure. Yeah. So no, Lactoid. The argument is not that it's the case that if like you should. Anything that you don't like that's going on, you should be kicked out for. I'm saying there are some things that are clearly part of the values this country represents. And if you want to be here, especially if you're fucking coming here, if you're moving here, I'm assuming the reason you're coming here is because you like something about this country. If you don't like anything about this country, go away. Right? There are plenty of other fucking places on the planet. Go away if you hate this country and you hate the values that the other Americans seem to think are the important ones for what's foundational to being an American and what's foundational to what makes America America. If you don't like liberal values, if you don't like egalitarianism, then you can fucking leave. In the case of things like the Nazi flag, right? These are political ideologies as well. And those are bad ones, and some are good ones, and you don't think it's the case that we should respect no establishment of political belief. You think some are respectable and some are not. You want yours respected and not other ones. And Counterpoints in particular, right? You said it's the case. Obviously, you're okay with some political agendas and not others being pushed on public property. I want to know what's wrong with this one. What's the problem with this particular political agenda? Lactoid says gender ideology. I don't know what the fuck that means. Just what is actually wrong with the pride flag and what it represents?
It seems kind of crazy, like to say that like the values that this country was built on. It like, do you really feel like it's a reach?
I think there were a lot of bad values, and a lot of good values.
You don't even know what I was going to ask, but you somehow.
I know exactly what you're going to ask.
That's crazy. You don't. You,
exactly.
I promise.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Bam, stop. Synth, tell us the question that he was going to ask.
Yeah, actually, I'm curious.
The question he was going to ask is, do I actually think it's the case the America was built on values that are pro-egalitarian? And he was going to bring up the counterexample of slavery.
No.
Really? Go ahead. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong.
Well, I mean, he could just say something different. It doesn't really mean anything on it, but
No, he wasn't going to say that.
Yeah. I promise I was literally going to say. I'm literally was going to say. Do you believe that the founding fathers based on like. Question. I'm not making up a new question. What the founding fathers have based on what they currently what's going on now. Like, do you think that like in the merit of how we think about the Constitution and how we talk about like the separation of church and state, do you think that they were like using it exclusively, like we're actually okay with countries advocating for any other ideology, but specifically religion is somehow different? Or do you believe that religion at the time spoke for like what was the broader thing that separated populations? So that was the biggest thing they focused on. But generally, they were saying that like we don't want the country to represent.
Question? That's not even like, is it in the form of a question?
Yes, I'm saying. Do you believe that
in the form of a question?
Do you believe that like the founding fathers would have been in favor of the concept of flying flags that represent political ideologies?
Yes, they did that. Yeah, obviously they would be in favor of that. That was a silly question to ask. I don't think it was your original question.
That was literally
what did they fly? What did they fly besides the country flag?
I don't know.
The country flag is a political flag.
No,
what?
I'm saying
no, he's saying about an agenda. There's a difference between national.
That's an agenda.
Yes, it's an agenda. You guys don't understand what the concept of a flag is.
It's all an agenda.
Are you guys arguing to get rid of America as a nation completely?
Because nobody's saying that.
Flag we all are represented under. Like
we
don't flag outside of
not
that
flag. He's Canadian.
That's
their flag. They flew state flags as well. They flew a lot of flags.
Yeah, so the ones you talking about, the ones we advocate, we argue.
But the founding fathers actually wouldn't actually have that.
Sorry, are you not okay with the Pal Maya flag? You didn't raise your hand earlier.
I don't know. I'm torn on it. But
You're torn on that one. You should, then you're not consistent.
All right,
This is
all
gonna
right,
be easy for you to
I'm
answer.
consistent. I'm against it.
Yes, lactoid's consistent. The rest of you who are saying
how about
you
this?
can't flag
Let's
the
just
political
flag.
ideology.
Okay, sorry. Let's Bam respond.
Yeah,
I
just
do want to
yeah.
hear from.
That's
Counterpoint
just
from
because
the rest.
Lactoid is Canadian and he
But
hates
'cause
American
it's-
votes.
No, I'm okay with
Literally-
Americans. Jesus Christ.
The reason I'm asking, the reason I was bringing it up basically is the idea of like it seems like the reason they came together is they said that like okay, there's a lot of people
Who's
like
they?
the original Americans, whoever that qualifies as.
Who are they?
Yeah, let him go. Let him go.
Oh,
We
God.
know what he means.
I'm sorry. Yeah, like it seems that the reason when we're talking about the things that this country was founded on, it seems like the idea of like there's a lot of different things that people over here are going to believe in, and as far as in any official capacity, we're going to ignore those things. Like we're going to be different in our personal lives, but what we're going to represent is the idea of not acknowledging a true religion or a true ideology. We're going to represent the idea of like general freedoms, and we're not going to pick and choose which is important.
Okay, I have to ask
and
you,
that
Ben.
ended up framing out in the separation of church and state. But if there were other things important to society, like if there were other things that were like that literally basically wars were fought over, concepts like I think we see with gender ideology or even Black Lives Matter. I think that they would equally be against those things in the merit of what this country represents.
Okay, we got to move on. We got to move on. We got
Wait, but I feel like I
counterpoints.
have to ask it in response to what he said really quick. I just been like, okay,
Like,
so
2 seconds because we got to.
okay, yeah. You did mention Black Lives Matter, and that's why when I said like, are you completely denying the fact that when we're talking about the flag, the American flag representing everybody, that it's not a all lives matter statement?
All lives matter statements are based. So
No, I think
that
the country, the United States government, should be all lives matter. But that does. I'm not. But that,
so you
but
agree with the sentiment of all lives matter?
we got to move on. And you're on the list. We got counterpoints.
Fair enough.
Sure. We got counterpoints. We got FK, Corey, and then Nina. Yep.
So it seems like that most Americans, especially normie Americans, are pretty tolerant of gay folk. If you look at Pew Research polls, I think they say that like anybody over the age of 18 years old should be able to transition, which I think is a relatively like tolerant position, considering we're like
queer.
a
I think you should be a little bit specific about your language.
A Christian country. But it also seems like they have problems with the imposition of LGBTQIA plus stuff in their lives. So, for instance, I just found a stat that basically said 60% of Americans don't think that private businesses should be compelled to participate in services for gay folk if those services specifically involve like a gay symbolism that, calls out their gayness. So it seems like, most people are not siding with you. And then the POW MIA flag.
I agree with that. What? I don't think business should be forced by gun to carry a
people flying that flag don't.
I want to address POW MIA.
They don't agree with you.
The differentiation that I would make between what other people are doing. I understand the POW MIA, like until they all come home, like organization or whatever, is a private entity. I do understand that. However, I do think that they're still a state or public interest because these are people who sacrifice themselves for the public interest, who then are, basically we're remembering their service and all that kind of stuff, which I think is a differentiation versus representing a certain demographic from the population that is equal to all the other demographics.
Yeah, no gays.
You understand that military service people are also a demographic. Like there's no good reason to think the fact that like there are some political ideologies we're okay with representing
entities, though.
They are a part of our government entity, and so are a lot of gay people who serve in the military. They're also part of our government entity, and so are the gay citizenry who vote. Our gay citizenry who vote. So instead of just saying gender ideology over and over again, that's the problem with this one. Tell me why this ideology is bad. What's wrong with this one?
It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's bad.
It is for two people. It is for at least two people in the panel.
It's not that it's. I was gonna go next anyway, and I was gonna say this. It's not that like people are treating this like it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's not that it's bad or good. You as an individual are allowed to fly whatever it is that you identify with. If you're a person who works for our government and you're really proud that you're white, fly a flag about you being white. If you're a person who's gay and you're proud that you're gay, fly a flag that you're gay. If you're straight, fly your straight flag. That is just who you are. That's not on the government to do anything about. What the government, like, when you have the gay flag, right? The way I see it is the government's flags are part of the government entity, right? The United States flag represents us all. Our state flag represents each different state's groups of people that are supposed to go into it. When you have your gay flag, what that means that doesn't mean the government flies your flag. That means your flag representing your identity, your group of people, take your problems, go up to the government, to the US flag and go, these are our issues, to your state flags and go, these are our issues. And then you try to deal with it from there. But it's not on the state to be like, we now acknowledge this specific identity group as a separate thing. It's on the state to just be like,
why do we allow Palmaya then? It's just go back over and over and over again. We keep getting progress, then we zoom backwards. It's the same short loop.
If it made people feel better, I'm fine with getting rid of it, but that's just
no, you were
government entity.
You are so
That's just closer to
inconsistent with
government
your
entity.
ideology. It is insane. You're
Ow.
gonna tell me that like you're gonna say this in the same breath that like okay, the American flag represents everyone as individuals, as people, and then you're gonna say like, why is this flag? Why do you have the flag that like represents you as an individual? That is insanely like inconsistent,
Why
dude.
should the U.S. be expected to fly individual people's flags?
It's not an individual. It's not one gay person's flag.
You said
It's
that
not
the
one gay
American
person,
flag
it's
represents
one group
everybody. You
identity.
said that,
So
right?
is Palmaya.
Am I
Should the
incorrect?
US,
Don't
wait,
say
should
no
the
then.
US fly
Am
on
I
the flag for white
incorrect?
people every time there's an
Am
event
I
for white
incorrect?
people?
No,
then?
because
Did
white
you
people
say
are
that?
fucking
Wait,
oppressed.
what did I say?
What?
What did I say?
Did you not
What does
say
oppression have
that
to
the
do with flying
American
flags?
flag represents
careful, represent-
everybody, right?
Yes, that's why it's the only flag that
So
should
then why
fly
the fuck
there.
we fly the American flag then? Because if it's representing people, that seems a
There
little
is-
crazy, right? By
there
your
is
ideology,
a
huh?
heterosexual flag. Should we be flying the heterosexual
Do you think
flag?
that?
No,
Holy
this
shit,
flag's
we just
gay
came
as
over there.
shit. Get out of here, dude. Don't you
Wait,
try and take that from
what's
us.
the issue?
I
know
want us to
Counterpoint's
have.
talking about the
wait,
fucking heterosexual.
I want nations to have the flag to represent their
Uh-huh.
people, right? But those flags
Mhm.
are more when it comes to what a place.
So do you think that you shouldn't be allowed to fly state flags?
What government facilities or happens on government territory, that should be government government organizations, right? State flags don't represent those states.
Do you think a
individually. They
government is like
represent
some
a
like?
portion. They represent a
have a
portion of
real
our
question.
federal government.
Do you think a government is not a made by the people type thing? Do you think it's just like a
It is made by the people. That's why the people
biblical
can fly
type of
their
thing that
flags,
just like
but the government
exists?
doesn't
Hey,
need
I
to
have
fly
a
them.
very specific question that addresses
To
Nina's
represent the
exact
government,
point.
we need to be representing the people.
Connor, go ahead and ask that question.
Yeah,
Go
Nina.
back to
So,
Nina.
so
Corey, I have
Go ahead.
no comment.
let's just say that I follow your logic down, and I just concede that gay people are a part of the United States. They're a demographic.
Yeah, that'd be
you know,
crazy if they weren't.
Therefore, the gays, when we fly their flag on
We love
state
the
buildings
gays.
and public buildings,
Uh-huh.
we are representing them. So, just
Cool.
as a matter of logic, let's
Mm-hmm.
just say that we're able to have like a heterosexual flag or a white flag or a
Go for
black
it.
flag or the flag of Wakanda or something like that, and we deal away with like all of like the negative
Wakanda would be
things.
different. Wakanda would be a
negative-
different country. So
Sure,
is that what we're trying to say?
since- in this hypothetical, let's say that Wakanda
new
is
Okay.
state of
just-
We don't like
let's
other
just
country
say-
flags.
Let's just say that
Got
black
it.
people adopt the Wakandan flag, a fictional place, as the symbol of black pride inside the United States. I don't know if
Sure,
you knew
okay.
that Wakanda isn't real. It's not real. So,
No, that's my
um,
point.
so
devastated.
basically, what I'm saying is, should we just like keep these in rotation on public grounds? Should we have like gay flags
Do
during
you think our flag
June?
budget is
Should
too
we
high?
have should we have the black flag on Juneteenth? Should we have the white flag on like what's a white
Sure,
holiday?
go off. I don't care.
I'm okay with the Juneteenth flag. The issue is gonna be the issue with the white
What about the
supremacist
white
flag is
flag?
because of the ideology that it
Oh,
supports.
the white
right? The
supremacist
reason-
flag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what we
probably
care
not-
about-
probably
what we
not
care-
enough.
Like,
What we care about is
Just-
what
just a
ideology
flag
you're
for white
promoting.
people, not the white supremacy.
What ideology is that
Just
promote?
white
do
for
with
What
white?
ideology is that gonna promote?
It promotes
Okay, well, I
recognition
mean,
of
that
white
has to be like what is
accomplishments to the
white, what
country.
is
Yeah,
like
no answer.
that comes into a lot of a different conversation. But let's
Elector
just
just
let
said
them
it
go down.
promotes- Bro, people need to get over this.
What do you say?
America is a country that was made up by slaves, slave owners, everyone from the worst to the best. Our country was made up by John Brown, a person who hunted down slave owners.
nothing matters
Our country
then.
was made up by those same slave owners.
Thank you
We
for the
need to
ramble,
guess
Doc.
never
But
didn't
what's the
happen
fucking
then.
answer?
Just
need to
ignore it.
understand that our flag
Cute.
represents everybody.
You guys are
these
adorable.
government facilities shouldn't just be picking sides, being like, today we're going to represent
What-
this
they're
The
group,
not
loop
picking
is the
sides, they're
loop where we
trying-
were getting somewhere, and then you're
That's
looping
not looping
backwards.
for a
No, answer
democracy.
the
Yeah,
question. No, don't loop backwards. Answer the question. What
What?
ideology does the white flag represent?
It
So
repre-
wait,
we
okay,
can design a new
it
one.
represents the plight of white people when it comes to
What?
like, it
When it comes to
represents-
affirmative
Is
action.
it like
It
what?
represents,
Them
like,
getting
that white
sunburned, or what's the
people-
point
white
here?
people-
What
Affirmative
fucking
action.
I don't know,
plight?
bro. I don't give a shit.
Good,
about them.
you don't know, right?
I
I know
answered
what
it,
I know
I
what the
answered
pride
it.
flag represents.
Affirmative action. White people for decades have been
Nina?
held down in college admissions, right? And the white flag
Yeah,
represents your struggle.
You know what? If you're white flag,
point. Hold on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No answer.
I have an answer. The answer is that there's no fucking ideology to point to. It's actually realistic. We give a fuck about
Okay. We gotta get some order here. Connor, I'll respond. Then we gotta go to Corey.
The white flag. We shouldn't actually go to like a white supremacist
Ballistic
flag.
surrender, probably.
We shouldn't
I would
go
imagine.
to actually a white flag. It should be like off-white pinkish hue, like actual white people's skin to represent
for
the
it, King.
sunburn.
We need
Okay.
a
Or like
male
they
flag
are-
and a female flag.
I mean,
and
if
we
you
need
feel
every
like
other
if you
flag.
feel like you need
Okay,
that, then
okay,
go up with your
I
flags.
gotta go. Corey. I think you should take that as a
Do it.
threat.
I like flags.
Because Counterpoint
That's a pale
is saying that he
motherfucker.
wants to make a flag out of you, right? Specifically you, the epitome of white. But Corey, please go ahead.
That's this might be an outdated reference from Seinfeld, but I think it's pretty clear that the white flag is the Gap logo. But regardless,
Then we should fly it.
But so yeah, I more or less come from the place of ICAO's position of like, I think it's pretty clear, at least in my mind, probably that this is motivated by bigotry. But if it ends up in the long run protecting, other classes in the long run, I'm in favor of it. But so I'm open to being my position being changed. Where so Synth, how would you respond? Let's say, I think this is in the realm of possibility, not in the hypothetically, if Trump wins in 2024. And I think it's in the realm of possibility that, let's say, he's motivated to fly a MAGA or Trump flag. How would you argue against that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the ideology that represents is a bad one, and I think the ideology the other ones represent are a good one. And so the argument we have to make ends up having to be that the actual argument against those ideologies. I understand the centrists, this is really difficult, right? They want to loop back to it's an ideology,
You
therefore it's
live
bad.
in a liberal
But
and
you live in
centrist
La La
society,
Land, dog. You
you
keep
leftist
looping on the
If
same
you
point
won
over
the
and over and over
election,
again, right?
if
The
you won the
argument,
election, you
the
got the
argument,
majority
the
of the vote.
argument, it doesn't matter what the majority is, it doesn't make things right, right? Sometimes the majority is fucking wrong.
So
The
we
majority's
just
wrong
do what
plenty of
Synth
times.
I think the
What
MAGA
does
flag
it
is
do?
a
What
good
we
flag.
do
What
is
does
make
this
the
country
fucking
represent?
counter argument. I understand for centrists this is hard, but you make the counter argument against their ideas, and you can't make the counter argument against the ones that the pride flag represents. The pride flag represents an idea
Where you got two options. You got two options.
Oh my
You
God.
either get fucked or kill your enemy if you're like the minority.
Which one are you
Isn't
talking
what
about?
America represents?
Are you playing Game of Thrones? What are you saying?
Which is what we're talking about.
Oh my God.
Which is you implement like proper regulation that avoids these situations from
Okay,
happening in
let's
the future.
go with
Or
that then.
alternatively,
Do you
we
think that
implement,
was-
or
do you think that
alternatively,
was
we make
proper
the argument
regulation?
as to why they're good.
Across the nation.
Or
do
alternatively,
you
we just
think
make
that
the
was
argument
proper?
as to why the pride flag represents something good and why these
Gay
other
people are like
flags don't.
6% of the
That's a
country.
reality.
Look at
It
that
doesn't
much-
matter if gay people are
Like,
6%. There's a
you
lot
love
more than
gay
fucking
people,
6% of the
but, like,
population
what
who
is this
supports
flag?
gay
This
rights.
flag isn't the end of the world.
What percentage of the population do you think supports gay rights?
A majority, but what?
Yeah, then it
What do
doesn't
you
fucking
mean
matter
by
that
gay
gay people are
rights?
6%, bud. It doesn't matter.
Supports poor people, but so we have like a poor
Wait a minute,
person
what-
flag that
wait
will
a minute,
fly
what-
in the
I would be
flag.
okay with having a
Why
poor
not?
person flag. Yes.
Wait,
Yes, fuck it. Let's have a
Just like
socialist
an
flag.
old,
Yes,
it's an old
let's go.
rag.
What
hang from a
percentage of the
stick.
population do you believe supports Trump?
The population is going to be like fucking 48 or
Oh,
44.
wait, you just said majorities matter. So shut up. That you
That's
can't.
not the majority, dumbass. What fucking? Do you
wait
know
a
what a
minute, if he
majority
won
is?
the-
45% is the majority? Are you
If he won
fucking
the-
stupid?
No, if he won the
What?
election by
Majority is
California
above.
doesn't count.
Majority is a big number.
All right. I can't even hear what you're saying.
I
Calm
think-
down. I can't even hear what you're saying.
I think Bam is making a cogent point, right? He's saying that there's a large portion of the population that supports Trump, who would fly the MAGA flag, right? Should we allow the MAGA
We literally
flag?
voted for it and he won.
Yeah,
That
the
means
argument,
he won
the issue is
vote.
that so
Sure,
the issue
fly
is
the flag
I
flag.
don't want us to promote bad ideologies, and I do want us to promote good ideologies.
didn't
I
ask
just
you
think it's
what
really
you want.
complicated.
No one asked you what
Yeah,
you
you
want.
did. Yes, you
That's
fuck.
the
That's
entire
the question
conversation
you
we
just
had.
asked, dummy.
I got a question
That's the
on
exact
this.
question you just asked,
No, I
dummy.
mean,
And the majority of the
generally-
population doesn't support Trump.
agree with
Trump's
it. I
favorability
agree with
is
that.
39% right
question
now.
on this.
Unfavorability
Let's
is
go to-
54%. The majority
Okay,
of people don't
so
support
we're gonna have
Trump.
order. I will have order. Thank you. All right. We'll go to Lactoid and Corey. Connor. Fuck. Sorry. Like get differentiate your skin color. Make it easier.
Yeah,
for
white
me,
people
all
all
right?
look the same. I get it.
Logo on my forehead.
One of you needs to get a bigger tan.
So I'm going to ask you a
Back to
question, and
please.
then I'm going to like reference back to something else you said earlier. Synth, when you say things like, "Well, you want to, promote a good ideology, and you don't want to promote a bad ideology," would you be in favor of, like, let's say, banning speech for like Nazis or banning speech for
No.
banning speech for conservatives? And
No.
briefly, why?
Yeah, so the long and short of it is that there are some cases where it's important to make sure that other people can engage in the dialogue and then have that conversation. And if you ban conservative speech, they can't talk to you. If you ban a conservative from flying a Nazi flag, I don't think it's the case that it's impossible to have that conversation.
Okay, and so you would agree that like speech does proliferate, though. So on a principled basis, you're willing to say, okay, even if this spreads bad ideas, there is this principle of like people should kind of have in this neutrality of the nation, people should be able to speak their mind.
I think
that principle is worth some bad ideas, whether you consider me bad ideas.
Wait, the principle exists because of the fact that it promotes good ideas, right? Even if it's the case that a Nazi is able to say their view, there's a net negative in terms of how many people are able to be Nazis if we're able to talk to these people and tell them why they're wrong on the issues.
You think that if we were to ban any kind of like conservative Nazi speech tomorrow, that we'd actually have like a net increase of Nazis and conservatives?
Yes, of course we'd have a resurgence in Nazism. The entire reason we had a resurgence in like the 2015, 2016-ish era in neo-Nazism is because a lot of social media platforms had incredibly strict rules surrounding who could and couldn't say certain things, and they get to play the oppression Olympics and pretend that they weren't allowed to say their piece. That was the entire rhetoric they constantly. You could go look at like every single thing that Richard Spencer had ever said while he was mainstream. It was, I can't even say my ideas. I'm not even able to talk about what I want to talk about.
I actually somewhat disagree with you. I think that one of the reasons for Richard Spencer's downfall was the fact that he was removed from so many platforms. And I think when you look at dictatorships, for example, like North Korea, one of the reasons why you have such a hegemonic like mindset and cult beliefs is because other ideologies are not allowed in. And from a very young age in schools, people are taught a very specific ideology. Now, I would assert that there's a principled basis of people should be allowed to freely express their thoughts, and people should be allowed as private citizens to say what they want to say and fly whatever flags they want to fly, because that principle in of itself is worth more than just some people like proliferating bad ideas. This same idea that you're having a hard time understanding that we're talking about, it's the same concept, which is like the principle here of the government shouldn't be taking like a position on like social agendas or advocacy. Instead, it should like remain like this is like the house of the people. The one flag that represents every single American is the American flag. There is no other flag that represents every single American like the American flag does, right? And so this is the argument. Okay, there cannot be a different like a group that's excluded when it comes to the American flag. But when you're flying any other flag, by definition, if you're including a set demographic of people, you are excluding everybody else other than that set demographic of people. And you're also excluding a lot of people who might have like a really deep problem with some of the tenets of that particular demographic of people that the government is supporting here.
Yeah, the issue is this entire hold on. The issue is the entire line of argument here, right? Is that I think it's founded on this like false belief that the pride flag is just represent gay people. That's not what it does. It represents an idea, and the idea is gay inclusion, right? And that idea is what's it's a lot more than just gay inclusion, I agree, but it's not just as simple as gay people. It's not just the gay people flag. You're not excluded from this flag being one that pushes an ideology that you can support if it's the case that the ideology you support is one that includes things like gay inclusion. If it's the case you don't like this, then you should be opposed to it. I agree, it would make sense for you to be opposed to it. But nobody holds the position, nobody on this panel other than you. You are consistent. Nobody else on the panel holds the position that the Palmyra flag should be banned because that one is promoting an ideology which excludes the majority of the population. There's a lot more people that are going to be included by the Palmyra flag.
Does the Palmyra flag exclude a majority of the population?
Yes.
Are you fucking taking
of
crazy
course
pills?
It does. Of course it does. Are you a prisoner of war right now? Hey, raise your hand if you're a prisoner of war on the panel right now. Any prisoners of war here? No, I'm not.
I feel like
raise your hand if you're missing in action.
Fuck this.
I want to
starting to feel like it.
Raise your hand up on the panel if you think that American prisoners of war should just languish in Vietnamese torture prisons because
nobody's saying.
Oh, interesting. Raise your hand if you think gay people should have rights. Everyone's gonna raise their hand. Like everyone fucking believe. Look, there we go.
Wait. Are you saying rights are like? Because you said before, like most Americans are against the idea of being forced to like in the fucking cake shop example, right? But that's the kind of shit that most of the people behind this flag are pushing, right? And so is it really that fucking like out of the box?
I'm in favor of the flag, right? I think it represents people like me. It represents people who are trans like me, people who are bi like me. It represents people like me. But it's not the case. Listen, stop looping backwards. BAM and JFK. Don't loop backwards. We're moving forward in the conversation right now.
Yeah, but you keep talking about yourself.
Yeah, holy shit. Oh, I'm saying it represents an idea that I care about, right? In the case of the pride flag, holy shit, stop looping. In the case of the pride flag, right, it represents something different, right, than other flags do. There's something that it represents that I think is worth moving forward for and worth pushing for. and we can keep
I'm
looping over and over
I'm
again.
not denying that, but it's a flag that represents a particular demographic, and it also represents a particular ideology and ideas, like you said, an idea, right? It represents a particular mode of politics where most of it and most of the things that's being proposed by the administration behind that flag right now are things like compelling private industries and private business owners to provide
there's an
services
administration
to
behind.
provide
hold on,
services that they don't want to provide. And
What
so
percentage
I
of gay
don't
people
think
do you
it's-
think support that?
I would say most.
No,
when people say like trans
Source?
protections, what are they talking about?
Wait,
They're
are
talking
you
I
about
want
because
I
of
agree
cake
with trans
shops.
protections. You shouldn't be able to fire your employee if they're trans. Yes.
well,
Dude,
a
this is
lot of
a
reasonable
no-brainer.
people would disagree with that because
No,
free
no reasonable
association,
person
disagrees
free,
with that.
associ-
No
free
reasonable person
association,
would agree with
free association
Why?
means that you should be able to work for or hire whoever you want for any reason.
Should you be
That's
able
what
to
free
fire
associ-
you
Yes,
should you be
yes,
able to
for
fire your
black-
employee if
for
they're
black.
black?
You know what?
Yes,
I want
yes,
to fire all my
Reasonable people do not
straight
think this.
employees.
Because I
Reasonable
actually
people
believe
don't
in free
think this.
association, and the founders of this country argued for free association, and the First Amendment
Yes.
is supposed to
Wait,
protect
hold on.
free
I
association.
agree
So
that
that-
you
and this
believe
flag
that.
does
Gay
not
pro
represent
trans,
people
my
who
guy.
believe
support
that. Hold
free
on, wait.
association.
No, Lactoid, I agree. You believe that. I'm telling
Yeah,
you,
and
no.
I'm right.
Most reasonable people do not.
They're
You
not
have an
reasonable
extremist
then.
you have an extremist ideology, which is very different from the majority of the population. You believe that people should be able to kick their employees out. People should be able to like evict their tenants if it's the case this person is the wrong skin color. Most Americans don't think this.
Yes, that's probably not going to.
No, hold on, real quick. If your argument is that like most people are going to be inconsistent when it comes to this, because I notice like your argumentation almost entirely relies on like, hey, you say this, but what about this over here? You're totally like inconsistent here.
No,
yeah, you're
that's
not
not
wrong.
his
A
argument.
lot of people are going to be inconsistent, but you have no like. I'm asking you to engage like on the base level here of. Like assuming that I am consistent, which you've already agreed that I am, if I make forward like the affirmative argument here of no, like what I think that this flag can represent a lot of ideas that I personally disagree with, but the general principle here is that like there should only be flags above government buildings that actually represent all people because that government was supposed to represent all people,
Cops.
not just a specific political demographic or a political idea.
And I think
Okay,
even
I-
if
People
it's
should not be
debatable,
allowed to wear their Blue Lives Matter thin blue line Punisher blue.
I
line
agree.
logo.
Yeah,
They should
this
only be
is-
allowed to wear an American
I think
flag
that they
or a
should be
state
able
flag.
This is a
to wear their
direct attack
dumb
on Connor.
bullshit.
Or the little
which
Nazi.
I
is
think
that
that you
his
should
neck-
be able to wear your
This is
dumbass
direct-
bullshit.
at home,
Attack on Connor, a cop, right?
Connor's
yeah,
not here.
former-
I don't see him.
a bastard, but a reform bastard. So please go ahead.
It
And I'd
can.
like to hear what you have to say, Connor.
Oh, well, no, okay, this is a differentiation that nobody else is really acknowledging, but I'm happy saying. I think that the government can be a self-reinforcing institution. So, for instance, if they want to fly a firefighter flag or a cop flag, as long as it's not literally the Punisher's logo, not because basically because that's cringe and it's vigilantism, I think that sends the wrong message.
And it violates IP, which is most important. But go ahead.
Bro.
Yeah, but if it was like but if it was
like a government facility,
if it was the
municipality
thin
flag.
blue line flag,
Respect the rights of
People-
corporations.
people can object to the thin blue line flag, but I don't view that as like in and of itself objectionable. And the same way that I view the POW MIA flag as like a self-referential thing where it's like it's referring to employees of the government, so therefore it makes sense that the government would fly its own interest. I have no fucking problems with that at all.
okay,
You
now
understand the
now I
government
feel like
interest
you're out in
includes the
clown
interest of the
world.
people.
I was with you, and then you went to
Is
clown
there a
world.
police flag?
Yeah, it's the thin
The
blue
Blue
line
Lives
flag.
Matter flag.
Is that
It's
actually
not
like the
blue
Well, I guess the
official
real
flag?
ones like
flag.
the real
It's
ones,
the
the black,
blue
blue,
line
and blue.
flag.
Yeah.
Is that
Is-
the
wait,
official
is there another
flag,
one?
or is that
It's
like
a black,
Not
blue,
their
and
official
black
flag,
one.
it's an unofficial flag.
Can
Yeah,
I
I don't
just
think
They
you
should
should
only
buy
be
any of
allowed
It's
to
a
fly
bad
their
flag.
official
Yeah.
flags.
can I just point
according
out?
to Lactoid, the American flag should be the
Hold on.
the
Can I
most
just point out?
True.
True. Wait, true.
Honestly,
Cops should
Back
only
to
be
it.
able to fly American flags. They shouldn't fly
Oh
whatever
my
other
god! I
flags.
shouldn't have. I
'Cause
shouldn't have
they
given him
work
that
for me.
ammunition. I'm
They're
sorry.
cops.
I
They're
prefer
cops
that
and they
one
work
better,
for me.
but I'll
Like,
be
I
happy.
was making a point. I wanted to
Wait.
see what it would.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out just one
Politicians
quick
work
thing.
for me
It's not
too.
even an argument. I just want to point out that Lactoid did bite the bullet on POW MIA flags. He bit the bullet on those other national flags. The one thing he didn't bite the bullet on was the DARE flag, which
I said the DARE flag.
I'm
I'll bite the
very
bullet. I'll
disappointed.
bite the bullet. I'll bite the bullet. I will. Look, I have a medal. I have a DARE medal. I will bite the bullet. I
Right.
should not be able to
Is
Are
this
you
a
gonna-
display
meme?
my
I
DARE
feel like I
medal.
don't know. I don't understand the
top of the
context.
government
This is like a
It's
meme.
the drugs
Are you
flag.
are you going to
It's
burn
not-
your DARE?
No, I know
bullet?
what Dare is. I just
No.
with Lactoid. I know he's Canadian, so that's my
He's
meme.
like-
It's
Yeah.
a source of
Israeli
pride
drug.
for my people.
Also bite,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also bite the bullet on the POW flag. I thought for some reason I thought it was like an official military thing. Like I thought that like you know how like the Army, Navy, whatever have their like branches of flag. I thought the POW flag was like now I know it's a private business. I'm fine on I'm biting that bullet too. Like I just think that it's not what as a country we should like. There's the fact that it can be like a flag can be debated on what it represents, like Seth told us 20 times what he thinks the pride flag means, and the fact that there's a debate on that probably means like, okay, it shouldn't be like it shouldn't be up for debate. It shouldn't be there. And I think that what Counterpoint said.
What does that mean now?
You're in a debate panel.
Whenever you acknowledge that, like you can do like the unofficial cop flag, like Blue Lives Matter. Like I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think you.
The American flag, the meaning of the American flag is up for debate. You think that shouldn't be handled?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, in another country, sure. If it was like an international stage, you could have.
And
No,
US
I think in
is
America.
Wait.
It's debated here.
The
I
most
have an important
important
question,
place it
actually.
should be
It's a
debated
debate
in
that
is the United
represents-
States.
But
What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you?
It's a representative of the country of the United States of America.
Okay, but literally
That's
the
official.
European
That's not
symbolism that
debated.
there's 50 stars, the fact that it's 50 stars in general is like a matter of debate because
No,
we don't have
it's not a
Puerto
matter of
Rico,
debate. It's
who
the
is
official flag
to
of the United
extend
States of
a
America.
state.
It's not a
No,
state.
do you under?
Puerto Rico's
Right,
not a state.
and that's a
also
part
not
of
a
the
But it
debate.
is part
That's
of the
part
United
debate.
States.
But it's not a state.
It's
It is
represented by the
absolutely a part
American
of the
flag.
United States.
Well,
Look,
yeah,
if all
It
you
is
think
represented.
if all the
Again,
American
part of the
it's
flag
flag,
represented by
represents
the
it.
American
if
flag.
all the American flag means to you is plot of land, you shouldn't give a fuck if it's flown or not. It means nothing to you.
It should
means
also
something to
it
me.
should
That's
also
why I
mean
want
free.
it. That's why I want it flown.
It should also mean free
flag.
association, but unfortunately, it doesn't.
I'm
Yeah,
saying, like,
lactoid,
so-
even you think it means
What's
more than just
Canada?
plot of land.
See,
Yeah,
so
free
nobody agrees.
association.
Even on this
So we
panel,
shouldn't
nobody
have any
agrees
other
what
flag.
that flag
I think
means.
the American flag represents
Yeah.
a diverse breeding ground for anybody from
Breeding
anywhere,
ground.
whatever their background is, to come over and build something that they want to and build a better and more perfect union, right? And at the end of the day, all those people get represented by that beautiful.
Isn't that meaning
star-spangled
debatable?
banner.
I think the American flag
Isn't
was
that
I want more
considered-
if it's a
stars.
breeding
I want
ground,
more
then it wouldn't be
stars
the
on that
price
shit.
flag.
I'm
But
like,
it
I have an
seems like for all
imperialist
of us in
thing.
history, that's what's been happening.
I agree that the American flag has meaning behind it, and that meaning is debatable, and that's not a good reason why we
Right.
shouldn't be able to fly it.
Right.
But the reason it's flown isn't because of what it represents. Or I guess
Yes,
it's
it
because of what
is.
represents.
Literally,
But
the
it's because
entire
of what
flag.
it officially represents, not from like
No,
the,
it's because
not
of what
for
it
the-
represents,
God.
not just officially as a plot of
No,
land. It's what
literally
it represents
that's
to
the only
Americans.
reason it flies.
That's not even close to true.
That's
What's
the
the
reason
point
it
of
flies.
flying
It's
it?
the- Why do you
Just to
every
figure out where
country
you
has
are,
a
you think
flag.
it's just a landmark? You look
Yes,
around like, I don't know where I
exactly.
am. I better look for an American
Absolutely.
flag somewhere.
If you go
No.
if you go to where
You forget.
if you go to any other country where they have a United States embassy in it, they fly the flag literally as a symbol mark. They're like, oh, okay, this is where the U.S. is.
Do you
It's
think
literally a-
there are people
It's
in
our
the U.S. right
brand.
now who are going to be flying Irish flags and Scottish flags because of their fucking ethnicity, their nationality?
They
I'm not
can
going to get
fly it if
lost
they
and be like,
want to.
I'm
If
not
they
going to get
want
lost
to.
and be like, there's
I'm
an
Japanese,
stop
I
interrupting.
never-
Like, I'm not going to get lost and think that's where the embassy is.
Have you
Like,
ever been
the
to
point is to
Chinatown?
find it out.
Would you be okay with an Irish flag being flown above Congress? No, we're not okay with that.
There's an issue. There's the issue that we're having here is that
Well,
we
it's 'cause I
think that
hate
the
the
American flags BAM thinks the American flag representing a plot of land is the only reason it's flown. I'm telling you, no, it doesn't matter. The American flag is not to locate where America is. You know where you
Right.
are.
But no, that's literally what it is.
I'm not lost.
I mean,
It's-
I
it's
think
an-
maybe
it's a
maybe that we're that's
representation.
We're
misunderstanding.
wandered
Maybe
into
he doesn't
Canada.
know where
The
he
more
is.
you guys win, the more I'm lost every day.
But yeah, like
Well,
the
apparently
flag
Lacto's
is-
involved.
deals
Wait, hold on.
as we
Lacto has a
show.
Ukraine flag, so he might be confused where he's both in
Not
Ukraine
Ukraine.
and also in America, which
But honestly,
obviously
not
I
would
think
be
it would be
in
down for an
Canada.
update though. Like I said, because I don't care. I don't think the representation matters. It would be down for an update because I think the Union Jack is way like it's just a better flag. Like I'll give it to.
No,
Wait,
no.
what?
I think it's quite literally been
No,
proven
no,
by
no,
everyone
no.
I think the
here,
Gadsden flag should be the next U.S.
I
flag,
think
and
it's
that
quite
should be
literally
flying above.
So
been
soy.
proven by
So-
every single person in here that America can represent a lot of things, yet somehow we all exist under that same flag.
That's true. Even though it's the fact, even
All
though
of
there's
the
debate
gays.
behind the meaning of the flag, we can all agree that it's something that should be flown,
I
except
don't
for some
agree.
reason. Oh, you don't agree,
get-
Bam? You
You know
don't
what I'm saying?
agree?
It doesn't have to be flown. I don't have a strong advocacy
you're
for the
against the
flag.
flag?
I'm saying it's the
Wait,
only
you
one
don't
that
think the
can be.
American flag should be flown?
Yeah,
doesn't
are
have
you
to
lost
be,
in the
no.
sauce here?
No, I didn't have to be. I'm not a strong advocate
In
for
like
the
government
flag.
Oh my
buildings?
God.
No, do you
Are
think?
you just
do you think-
anti-flag in general?
I don't think it has to. Like I'm saying, it's not something
Bam
like
is Antifa.
if the flag hits the ground. I'm not one of those niggas that drop tears. Like I don't care about it. Like
You
Like-
bastard.
yeah, it's just like flags. Flags can only do damage. I don't think they're ever helpful. I think they can
What?
only make things worse.
No, of
Like-
course flags can do good.
No,
That's
that is
crazy.
True. That is true. There's too many flags. There needs to be one flag. the
I've had
American
enough of these
flag.
flags
There
in
needs to be one
society.
for free
We should
America.
have
What's
the
the
flag-
Whoa.
a union flag, right? Like a federation flag that represents the entire Earth. I mean, just the one flag.
The future
Obviously.
around the
World
world
government
flag.
flag.
Anti-flag.
The
One
Federation
world-
flag in
world
Star
government
Trek is
Yeah,
based
you-
on the
you-
UN flag.
The
United
one
Federation
flag,
of
the world
Planets.
government flag is hard.
UN flag is very mid. So I will
Yeah,
say that.
so we should just have the one.
Shoot
I
it
agree.
down.
One world government, which I know my man Lacto is all for. But
Right about Team Summer.
let's
Notice the only flag on this panel is the Juneteenth flag.
To be
You
fair,
should
there are a
have.
couple of
Also lame.
Americans in
The Black American flag is
I
way
know,
cooler than the
sorry?
Juneteenth
The flag back there, but it's not here anymore.
The Black American flag is like red, black, and yellow. It's way cooler than the Juneteenth
green.
Flag. Juneteenth flag is
Isn't
lame.
it green?
Well, you
It's
don't
black and
have
green.
it, so shut up.
Anyway, so here's what's gonna happen. We are gonna move on. I want to try something a bit different. So I want to let people get involved and jump on in, and it might be an easier transition if we kind of just like jump to Discord, and like anyone who's going to stick around here just like kept their cameras on Discord. I'll give you guys an outro. We'll keep it quick, but I do want other people to be able to join this group. Whoever is left, because I know some people are going to have to leave. Okay, so everyone, if you've been enjoying this content so far, consider following the channel. I haven't done so yet. Hit that follow button because we have these great kind of discussions all the time. If you're missing out, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and consider using a super chat. Still have a chance to ask these guys a question. We've seen a few people come through on YouTube. So you have to hit the like button also. That helps a lot. But yeah, if you want to ask these people a question, if you agree or disagree, that's your opportunity to do so. I want to give a quick outro to and I do mean quick, right? We're gonna move this along, and then we're gonna jump into we're gonna stick in the private Discord here, the private VC, and see if people want to join us. So I want to give people a chance to join this group. So anyway, hit subscribe to if you're on Twitch, hit the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, hit the members button or whatever you want. But please consider supporting this channel. If you like this content, allow me to do more of it for you by helping us out. If you have Amazon Prime, Prime Gaming, use that here. Okay, so we're gonna keep these quick. Lactoid, thank you so much for coming through. Lactoid's amazing. I love him so much. And great legal mind. Thanks for stopping by.
Yep, really big shout out to you, Prime. Thank you to all the wonderful people and their respective audiences who came and discussed all these wonderful topics with me. This coming Thursday, if the Supreme Court overturns affirmative action, we will be doing a full read of the opinion. And then on Friday, there's an affirmative action panel. You can find me at LikeToy TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Hey, love to see it. Black American made, right? The only black guy that I needed, apparently, for this auspicious Juneteenth. Thank you so much for being here, friend.
Shout out to Juneteenth. Shout out to black people being free and whatnot in America. That's it.
All right. Yeah. Love it. Well, great sentiments. Let's go to Corey Campbell, who is indeed Canadian. All I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, Prime. And I want to defend my friend Lactoid, since on the panel, for multiple people, at least one, we're saying, if you don't like it here, you can leave. I think it's totally unnecessary. You don't need to say that. You just need to say, stay in Canada, and all problems are solved. But with that, always appreciated and grateful to be here. You can find me on Twitch. I'm a biochemist. I cover science, research, and news. Twitch.tv, Corey Campbell 84. Twitter, Instagram, literally it's Corey Campbell. Synth, iCow, FK, Counterpoints, and Nina, and Bam, and Lactoid. Always a pleasure, and love you, Prime.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to Nina. Nina, thank you so much. You're fantastic and wonderful. I really enjoy hanging out with you.
Glad that you got my check cleared, apparently, that you're saying such nice things about me. No, it's always a fantastic time to see all of you all. Lactoid, the Bam, Corey, and I guess Corey already said it, so all of y'all, it's really nice to see. And I guess FK, this might be my first time speaking to you, but it's a pleasure talking to you as well. But now I feel mean saying nothing. Counterpoints, iCow, and Synth. Fantastic to always talk to you. Sorry, I'm like, I'm really gonna have to do it quick, and then now I'm taking too much time, right? But no, thank you so much for having me on twitch.tv/Nina. I'm actually on 143 days on streaming in a row. So if anyone's interested in leftist politics, please join me over on my channel. But also, if anyone in my channel is interested in very interesting debate panels, absolutely follow Prime Case.
Thanks so much. Next, we have our friend Connor, right? And it has been just happy days since he has been joining us. I've missed him so freaking much, and all the
We got two
interesting points
more.
that he always has. Yeah.
Big boy.
Yeah, so my name is Connor. I do run a YouTube channel named Counterpoints. Counterpoints 40K. I break down the beautiful, fucked up world of Warhammer. And then if you do like my political takes, my political debates, you can also catch me on Counterpoints Coliseum. That's where I'll post this spot. And then finally, I do an essay channel just called Counterpoints because I wanted to divide up the content for the algorithm. Thank you for having me. It was very fun. Parasocial love to you and yours. And even if I called you retarded tonight, I still parasocially love you. So I appreciate y'all and the fire that you bring to these panels. It's nice to be in a revitalized Twitch and YouTube political panel scene.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. X-Wish for opening chat, guys. It's I put, if you're on Twitch, I put a link there. Just join to jump into our Discord so that you can be a part of this. Go into our robot waiting room. So line up. We got one person who wants to jump in. So I'm really excited. I haven't talked to this guy in a long time. So if you guys want to talk to this group, then please line up for that. Let's go to FK. FK, you were fantastic. Oh, and I forgot to say, FK was the one who came up with the pride flag topic. So all credit goes to him. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Hey,
thanks for
flags.
having me, Prime. I'm just a dude. I do some college. I got friends. I just vibe. I like to consider myself somebody who was like raised on the weirdos of Discord and then was able to like break out of that and live a normal life. And I've come back to bring that normality to the world. I play a lot of games. You can catch me streaming at Just Average FK or on Twitter at Just Average FK. I'll be in the politics.gg server, usually just talking shit with people, capturing some of their debates. Sometimes we do AMAs. And right now, again, like I said at the start, we have a official politics.gg Rust server. If you like Rust, anybody in here, anybody listening can hop in and play Rust. It's 3 times. Fortnite.
I just noticed you had bounties in the background. You weren't playing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's Doobie. Speaking
we
of,
we gotta talk. He with his girlfriend who keeps him away from me. I'm really jealous. Let's
True,
go
bro.
to a friend, Echo, who's fantastic and literally educates us even while he's arguing against you, which is like really annoying when your opponent like constantly drops truth bombs on you.
Thanks. There were only 2 minor things I wanted to say while everyone was busy yelling at each other. One of them is that I think you guys all illustrated perfectly how nobody agrees on what the American flag means. I still want to know which stars represent DC, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, because those people don't get to vote don't get to, they don't get senators. They don't get to vote in a lot of different contexts that most citizens do, and they don't get any real estate on that flag. And I just want to say to Synth, it's perfect timing because he gets to have a close after me, that centrism and pragmatism are not the same thing.
Okay. And then finally we have Synth. I gotta say, Synth and I, I've known him for quite a bit because he would jump on my open panels. We've had like some deep arguments, but I gotta say that I'm always impressed with Synth. Like no matter what side he's on, his argumentation, his eloquence, just amazing. I'm totally jealous. Sometimes I wish I thought of that. So shout out to Synth who keeps spending time with us.
Thank you so much. I'm super flattered. And no, I totally agree that pragmatism and centrism aren't the same thing. Pragmatism and leftism are the same thing. In the case of the constant loop we did over and over and over again in the argument, I really enjoyed yelling at you guys all through it. It was a lot of fun. And you can find me on youtube.com/SINTHE, youtube.com/synth, where I run a channel where I mostly talk about ethics and philosophy and econ.
Okay, yeah. So guys, let's so I want to make a smooth transition. So I'm gonna drop out of this. Everyone drop out of the StreamYard. And if you're sticking around, obviously, turn on your cameras in Discord. You don't have to move or anything, just turn on your cameras. And so we can continue on the conversation. And we have other persons who want to join. If you want to join too, X-Much for opening chat. We'd love to have you. All right, so we're going to try to do a smooth transition here. All right, so thanks so much. Dropping out of here right now. We're all dropping out.
Go parasocial love to you and yours. Bye for now.
Okay, great. And all right, so we got people here. We got people. And let's
I'm gonna run to the bathroom, but I will turn my camera on in a second.
okay, great. Let's bring in Fallenor. He's our first guest. Fallenor. I'm turning up my camera on. Hey, Fallenor, are you there? Okay, well they deafened themselves. But hopefully, I mean they got in the waiting room. But
I feel like
so
there was
hopefully
something else I wanted to say about the first topic before.
yeah, and you can. And guys, again, this is your chance to join in. Fallenor, if you want to jump in and speak your piece, we'd love to have you. And guys, you can jump into our Discord chat. I'll put that also into the YouTube chat place. So again, if you want a chance to say something to the panel, then now's your time. Now's your chance. Excuse me. So that's the YouTube link in the YouTube thing. So you can use your super chats. Be great, helpful, and hit the like button at least. If not on our thing, our YouTube channel. Okay. So Fallenor, are you there? I'll ask one more time, and then auto issues. Okay. All right. Then take your time. So if anyone else wants to jump in while we wait for Fallenor. Anyone?
Whoa, it's Fallenor. It's Fallenor echoing Prime Kai's voice.
Yeah. He's working on it. Guys, we were literally just arguing. Like,
all right,
continue the argument.
How did anybody here still hate future people?
No, I still love future people.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm neutral on future people. They just shouldn't be considered.
That's really unironically, like, do you think that a person, maybe it's like a disconnect on like ground level stuff, but do you think that like life begins at conception, or do you think you become a person after that?
I don't think life begins at conception. No,
you don't. Okay, so at conception, a mother becomes pregnant. Is it okay for her to smoke meth?
No.
Okay, but we're only considering a future person, right? Nobody exists yet.
Well, I think if she plans on having a baby, I think it can be protected, but it's not protected because it's a person. We protect animals in weird ways.
I agree. We protect animals. The issue is that animals currently exist, but the person that we're protecting in this case doesn't. Right? We're protecting a resource for a future person.
But it does exist. I'm saying it's just not a person.
It's the person doesn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean
it's a resource for a person.
But I'm saying the reason you can say, oh, you shouldn't smoke meth, like you can justify that without considering it a person.
You can justify that without considering it a real currently existing person, but that would be valuing a future person.
No,
Hang on now.
Why do you care? Why is it bad to smoke meth?
Again, but because you can do it for an advocacy of like related to the fetus itself.
The statistical dramatic increase.
Why with the fetus itself? The fetus itself is just it's nothing. It's just like it's just.
All right. All right. So as and my AC just kicked in, so I'm sorry if it's kind of loud. But we're wrapping up anyway. As much as if you guys want to continue to hear that abortion debate, we're going to go ahead and raid on Into Prime anyway in a second. But in the meantime, really appreciate you guys for swinging on by. If you like the content and you don't follow, please consider giving me a follow. That raises number and increases dopamine, and also helps grow the channel, which is obviously a goal. For those of you who contributed, big shout out and thank you so much. Like I said before on the end of Prime's panel, this Thursday, if the Supreme Court opinion drops on affirmative action, either way, we're going to be doing a opinion analysis of it. So if they affirm affirmative action, or if they reverse it and say, okay, no more affirmative action, either way, we're going to be doing a full analysis of the opinion. We're going to be cross-referencing it to prior opinions to see where they followed it, where they didn't, what the conservative justices had to say, any dissents, which I'm sure are going to be an important part of this as well. So, and then, we're probably going to have a few guests on as well on Thursday if we do that. And then as to Friday, regardless of even if it doesn't drop on Thursday, we're going to be doing a full panel on affirmative action with Wick. And there's a couple good, all of the debate panels I have great members, but we got some good members as well, and also Erudite and a few others. I've talked with Nelson Erudite before. I think she's smart, and I think it'd be an interesting conversation. I don't know if she supports affirmative action or not, but we're going to go ahead and destroy all the people that like it anyway. So, yeah, if you want to, if you look forward to that, all the more reason to give me a follow. You can also find me on Twitter, LikeToyTV, and if you want to join our Discord is actually a little bit different. It's Anti-Communism United. There is a link, which is a reference to our old name, and there is a link in Twitch. You can go ahead and click on that to go to our community Discord. Okay, thank you for letting me get all that out of the way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, yeah, Feder, I agree with you. 100%. He's slick. You got to be careful when you talk to him. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and raid on out into Prime Kais. And yeah, big thank you all. Big thanks to you all. And have a wonderful Monday. All of you make this possible. You know, as long as you guys keep sticking around, I'm going to keep doing it, no matter what, unless I die or something, which I hope not. You know, I don't think it's going to happen, but you know, I'm just saying, right? Or if my internet permanently goes out for some reason, or I don't know. Here, I will put forward the utmost effort to continue doing this. Okay, we're going to go ahead and raid on into Prime now. That'd be sick. Then I'd live on forever. Man, AI is getting crazy. I'm sure another panel AI will come up soon.
More the question, like if I could prove to you, like obviously that's a hypothetical, so